All right. The categories. Part 2 is all categories. Part 2 is going to be a lot more fun than part 1.
Yes.
Part 1 needed to happen. We needed to have the 90-minute discussion.
I just want you to feel like this is your birthday. This is the last Rewatchables episode. Just take your time. Don't get to the middle of the categories and be like, we're falling behind. Sean and I have nothing else going on today.
That's true.
Most rewatchable scene. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I only had 9 scenes. I tried to narrow it down. How many did you have, Sean?
16, 17.
Oh, you went big. I think I might have combined some. Okay.
I have 18. I have literally only one scene in the movie that I don't think is rewatchable.
Yeah, you really have to cheat. It's 2 hours, 39 minutes. We try to make this a little like
you got to kill your darlings in this, though.
There's a wrinkle to this, though, too, which is I want to get your ruling on something. Yeah.
All right, first one, the opening scene at Hot Tracks in Reseda, which is a real place, apparently. This is in the running for best Steadicam flexing my muscles shot ever. Where does it rank for you, Sean? Is it still Goodfellas for you because it was first?
I think it's more important to Goodfellas because it's taking you inside of a world halfway through the movie. And you're seeing it through the eyes of Karen, and so it's better for telling the story. From a purely technical perspective, it's up there because it does something that I don't think that the Goodfellas scene does, which is that the Steadicam starts on a crane, and then the camera operator hops off the crane and walks into the club.
I just don't know. I just don't understand
how did they do it. I literally can't figure out when he gets off.
It's just like, how do they do it? Where I guess we're stepping on Great Shot Gordo. Like the camera will come back from following Maurice around and then hit when Julianne Moore is lighting her cigarette. Like I just don't understand the choreography and the timing.
And then you have 150 extras.
Yeah.
I think this is the best one for me because of the how did they do that factor. The Goodfellas, it makes sense. It's moving along and all the people are in the right spots. This is like people are walking toward the camera, they're walking away from the camera, they're holding drinks.
Speeds.
They're working in a disco, they're also dancing in the background, and I just don't understand how they did it. It's 3 minutes long.
It introduces us to basically 3/4 of the core cast.
Yeah, we meet all 7 main characters plus Maurice.
Yeah.
Everybody but Scotty J, and I don't even know if you'd call Scotty J a main character. He's only in like a couple scenes. They said 12-hour shoot day. How many takes? Well, you probably know the answer.
I don't, but I'm going to guess 7.
Yeah, 7. 7 takes. Jack!
That exact moment is when the camera moves off the crane and somebody starts moving it through the club.
Operator, yeah.
You know, like that's the thing that from the technical perspective, that's a real wow. That's a real I'm pulling my dick out in the first minute as opposed to the last minute.
And then on top of it, we have to have, as Chris said, we go back to the table. Or did you say that?
I said that I couldn't understand how they were able to choreograph it so that they get there. And it's not just that. It's like her being like, she's like lighting a cigarette as Maurice gets back.
It's the perfect time. Roller Girl skates over and she's got to pee. What's wrong? What's going on in there? I got to pee. She skates off. We have to follow the camera. She then skates through the dance floor. She's got to nail just the dancing part. And all the way to Dirk, who's turning around holding a thing of glasses at the perfect time. I watched this 10 times over the last week trying to figure out what am I missing? How did they do this? And I don't understand how they did it.
I mean, the set looks like a racetrack and there's lines all over the floor where they're making sure they've perfectly charted out where they're meant to go. But it doesn't change the fact that it's just like brilliantly conceived. Yeah. As like, here's how I'm opening my movie. Also, I love that story that he tells about how he got the title of his first movie changed. So, from Sydney to Heart 8. So it was incredibly important for him to make the title of the movie part of the first shot of the movie. And so the camera turns and you see Boogie Nights on the marquee and then it starts its journey.
And it's the same thing as Dirk imagining his own name in lights so bright that it explodes, and if you listen to the director's commentary, PTA on this is so, he sounds like he's got a Schlitz in his hand when he's talking, but like, he's just like, I was like, let's fucking go. Know, my other movie is pretty slow. It's very considered. I wanted this to feel like a party. I wanted you to meet everybody. I wanted it to be like this overwhelming of the senses immediately. And like, when you turn this movie on, it's hard to imagine not spending the next 3 hours watching it.
I was pretty creatively damaged the first couple years there at ESPN. And I would put jokes in columns that I knew wouldn't get through to try to get like the 5th joke. I knew they would take out the first 4, so the 5th one in. I can't imagine being so creatively damaged that I am planning this huge Steadicam scene, and I put the Boogie Nights in the movie because that's the only way I'm positive they will have to keep it as a title if it's at the beginning. Like, think about how traumatized you must have been from your first movie. That's actually a leap you make.
He didn't have final cut on this movie.
Right.
So every choice he made had to be particular with that in mind.
Yeah.
And he learned his lesson.
I'm going to ask one question of each of these scenes we're doing. So, Jack. And he's like, where were you? And he's like, we were on vacation. Where did Jack and Amber go on vacation, in your opinion? Like Palm Springs?
Yeah, Acapulco.
Oh, you think they got on a plane?
Yeah.
I was thinking more Palm Springs.
Well, they are driving back from the desert when they come up with Brock Landers, right? So maybe
Going
that's
to the desert.
Yeah, or going to the desert. So maybe they have like a Palm Springs place.
Cabo? Like Hawaii? I don't know if is Jack going all the way to Hawaii?
Maybe Baja.
I feel like Amber needs to bring a lot of drugs with her wherever she goes. So probably a driving trip.
It's a great point.
Fair. Yeah, that's why I was thinking
Santa
Palm
Barbara.
Springs.
Yeah.
Santa Barbara would have been a good one.
Yeah.
Like maybe a little Montecito.
A little Central Coast wine tasting.
So our guy Bobby Elswit, he said he remembers standing with Paul on Reseda Boulevard.
Shot Bob. Yeah.
Big Shot Bob. He was looking at the Reseda Theater. It was out of business, but it hadn't been torn down yet. And the marquee was destroyed. The neon didn't work anymore. And he said, we wandered down there. And we're like, we have to start here. We have to see Boogie Nights on this marquee. And then we're off. Now, I have a question. From a rewatchable scene standpoint, when does this end? Would you say there's a second scene?
Yes.
Because Jack...
It's the cut. The cut to Jack eyeing Eddie is the next scene.
I would probably combine those into one bigger
So this
scene.
is getting into sequence versus scene. And this will happen the most at the, at the Jack party.
So let's say that's our next rewatchable scene. Jack sees Eddie, goes into the back, and we get the 17-year-old piece of gold.
I love this scene.
You want 5 or 10?
I
got a feeling underneath those jeans, Sean, there's something wonderful waiting to get out.
PTA tells the story. They shot this scene early on in the film. It didn't work. And the only thing that they went back and reshot was this scene because Wahlberg and Reynolds and Elswit and PTA agreed it wasn't working. And so they rewrote it. And you can tell by the confidence of the two actors in the scene that they have been doing this for a little while now and they know each other's rhythms because it is the most insinuating, interesting, and also handheld. The camera, after gliding through the first 3 minutes of the movie, all of a sudden we see Eddie and it's kind of bouncing around a little bit. And we're like, this guy is a
Chris, what would you have paid, 5 or 10? I think 5, you just get out quickly. 10, I got to hang around for an extra 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it's like if it's his third time, you might be there for 15 minutes.
Mailing it in.
Did you get the impression that Jack knew about Eddie or had just like seen his face and was like, this kid's got the look?
That's a good question. Maybe Maurice tipped him off. Like, I got this freaking dishwasher. He's hung like a tripod. Guys are paying him $10 to jerk off in my kitchen. I can't get him to do his job.
I can't imagine Maurice is explaining to people that he's got a dude jerking off in his kitchen.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I think this is the talent of Jack Horner. He could just see the magic.
That's what I
saw
think.
Something.
And it's like, I always love he says, this is the new kid on the street. It's like, obviously Jack picks up itinerant, like runaway kids to be in his movies.
That's how I found Ben Solak.
I swear to God, I was going to make this joke to you. These are the real people. These are the new star. When Gondoli walks into the New Year's Eve party, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I was like, this is Bill when Solak came along. There's just this is exactly what it was like.
I was like, I saw KFC in the Celtics blog. Something wonderful.
Schrager's like Reed Rothschild. Yeah.
The combo of this is just such a just unbelievable way to start the movie. And then it goes all the way through to he leaves and we see little Bill go into his car and he has a fucking parking ticket. It's like that guy, every moment of little Bill in this movie, he can't win.
Yeah.
It's just him getting kicked in the balls constantly.
Even the deleted scene of this scene, right, when they're all come out. Did you watch this one where Reed and Becky come out of the club at the end of the night?
It's just like they're hanging.
And little Bill is like, what are you guys doing? You want to get a bite to eat? And they're like, oh, I'm pretty tired. I think I'm going to go. And they're just trying to blow little Bill off.
And he leaves and they're like, can I sleep over at your house? Next one, look, this isn't rewatchable, but we got to break it down as the Dirk's mom going in on him. That scene's unbelievable. I love Dirk's room. I love the posters. It's Wahlberg. It's one of his best performances in the movie, as we discussed. The mom is so evil and so great. She's sitting there waiting for him. She's got the bottle of liquor next to him and the religious shit around, and she's smoking cigarettes and just like, she just hates this kid for reasons that remain unclear. And they go at it, and that's just an awesome acting scene. But when she rips the posters, you're like, oh, he's got this whole room that he's spread around. Like, I can't believe she touched the posters.
But that happens later. Like that happens like before.
I'm going second scene.
You think that's because the second scene is just the next morning where Dirk is at the dinner table. Having breakfast.
No, I'm moving later. I moved ahead. Like,
so we're skipping
past that.
We're skipping
the dad
Buck's failed sale of the TK421. We're moving past Sherilyn and Eddie.
Do you want to just do the whole movie?
I am like compelled to talk about every scene.
Why don't we do this? We'll do each scene. Okay.
All right. So it's opening sequence. Eddie and Roller Girl. Jack at Dupar's.
I don't need notes.
We didn't do going back to Jack's house.
Buck stereo.
Yeah.
Buck stereo.
Yep.
And then
Roller Girl in high school.
4 channels of quads.
Roller Girl in high school and the guy turning around and giving her the blowjob sign, who we later see.
So this is one of House's favorite things about Boogie Nights was the casting call for the guy in the class.
I know.
Where they're just doing 100 auditions of the guy going like this. And I was like, that's the one. PT is like,
do you think that guy goes like is trying to do like Chekhov at the Geffen Theater, and they're like, so what have we seen you in? He's just like, I pretended to have a dick in my mouth in Boogie Nights, and then I got my face kicked in.
Were you disappointed that they didn't tell us what Roller Girl's real name was? Because the teacher keeps calling her Honey.
Oh yeah,
Honey.
He says it in the back of the limo.
He says it in the back of the limo. Yeah.
What does he say?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, the listeners will tell us. So then he goes back the second night. Roller Girl blows him.
Yep.
And then they go to the diner. You're right. The diner scene should be in there.
Yeah, Jack
I was trying to cut it down.
His desire to make a real film that is a porno. It's my dream to make a film that is right and true and dramatic. And then we go to the audition in Jack's house and Brandy Key.
We gonna fuck or what? Aiming at her tits, Eddie. I love Amber's like, I'm going to bed, guys.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
They're like,
I might call my son at 3
lines.
a.m. and see if he's up, but if not, I'm just probably going to turn in.
So many good little hints, though, like Amber kisses Dirk on the mouth.
Oh,
you're
definitely.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Here's where we're going.
What is she, the foxiest bitch in 10 counties, according to Maurice?
Yeah. And then the fight with Dirk goes home, has the fight with the mom.
Yeah.
My next big rewatchable scene is I just have it as the mega pool scene. First of all, they said it was 107 degrees in West Covina. They're filming this. We've all felt that heat. I've watched my daughter play soccer.
We just went outside for 5 minutes to have a turkey sandwich, and I thought I was going to pass out.
Eddie meets the gang. We get Reed and Dirk, which there's a deleted scene of that's not as good, but it's really helpful to watch them try to figure it out. But Reed just throwing a no-hitter this movie.
Making the margarita.
Yeah.
Talking through it
What,
and then stopping talking.
Yeah.
The rub.
So good. How much do you squat?
They're just like immediately friends. But it's like watching 2 third graders make friends.
The most amazing part of that is him going, do you go to Vince's? Oh no, I would have seen you. I'm there every day.
Right.
I've always wanted to.
So we get that. And then we have the Colonel arrives. Comes out of the limo. I'll step on what's age the best. This movie has better arrivals. It has 4
the character
incredible
intros.
arrivals. That, Floyd, Scotty J, Todd Parker. It's like the Mount Rushmore of how to bring a character into a movie that's already moving.
Todd Parker.
He does the same trick every time, right? That sort of stuttering, cutting camera move where it's like you see them sitting, you see them standing, you see them walking. And like cut, and set to a super cool song every time. And every time you're like, all right, somebody important is here.
New person.
Yep.
Here we go. His date. Do you have any coke at this party? I'm sure we can find some somewhere.
What does he say? You're shy as a little deer or something like that? Like
she goes off, and then we get to cut around the pool. We get Buck talking to Becky with the
I have a look.
Yeah. Chocolate love 100%. We get Maurice trying to get in a movie with Amber.
Mm-hmm.
Honey, baby, please. Talk to Jack. And then all leading to, I'm going to give this award right now. The Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award for Best Needle Drop. The Spill the Wine, which is playing in the background, but it's the quiet part of the song. And that girl comes up from the Coke table, walks across, super cool. I don't know who that person was, but she's owning it for like 10 seconds, throws the cigarette into the bush. and jumps in and spill the wine, kicks out.
From my research, she is actually a porn star. I really wish I hadn't researched this film on my Spotify computer, but she was...
What's her name? A porn star?
Yeah, I think it's Little Cinderella.
It is. Yeah.
It is actually.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. CR.
Did you watch that film to completion?
Yeah. That was a 10.
So, and then I have that as kind of the end of that part of the scene, right? Then
so Little Bill is after that scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and within that kind of moment, there's a couple. Do you want to talk about like the nerdy I Am Cuba thing about like the amazing execution of that scene? Just that there's a Soviet Cuban film made in the late 50s that features a lot of tracking shots, but one tracking shot in particular where the camera goes down into a pool. And we see that same sort of following someone into the pool.
Does somebody say, did they talk about like jackknife technique?
They don't. No one looks like Han Solo in that movie. But PTA, the thing that he's proud of is that the camera comes back up from the pool and then you can hear sound. And like, honestly, in the movie theater, even if you're not even aware of the camera, you're just a common moviegoer, you'd be like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like that looked really cool on a big screen.
I'm always telling him you got to bring your legs all the way around.
Well, one of the things I loved when this movie came out on DVD is they didn't do the square. He was like, fuck that. And it was wide. Yeah. So, and all the TVs were square in the 90s, but it didn't matter. It was fine. But then they would show it on cable and they would kind of move the stuff around to make it fit the square. Mm-hmm. So then when the TVs got wide again, it was like 10, 12 years ago, this movie had a whole second life because you could pick up, especially in the pool scene, you could see people in the background. You could see people doing cocaine that you hadn't seen in forever.
Yeah, it was like Chris was saying, like there's so many shots in the movie of like every cast member all together, basically, if you look all around.
The third time I watched this movie in the past week from start to finish, I was just trying to concentrate on the people behind the characters talking to see and I actually picked up some stuff, but there really is a lot of stuff going on. I love the pool stuff. I love this house. Next one is my wife. I have it going. My wife has an ass in her cock right into the Colonel OD, right into Scotty J's arrival, right into Colonel's advice for Eddie. You can team all those together because it moves fast, or you could chop those up.
Well, can we do a little bit of a special mention of Ricky J and William Macy being together and these two David Mamet stalwarts talking about the cinematography of a porn movie while William Macy's wife, Nina Hartley, is having sex on the pavement in front of a bunch of people. And Kurt's just like, what the fuck? It's just the photography of the movie.
Yeah. You give me shit, Kurt? Are you giving me shit? My wife has an ass in her cock in the driveway.
What, you got somewhere to be?
It's no big deal. It's just, the photography of the film. That scene is unbelievable. The best part is, in the background, you see Little Bill's wife, and they must have filmed, like, what, a whole day of takes? They're just with that crowd around Nina. That's why you have to cast an actual porn star, I guess, for that.
She apparently brought a very specific energy to the set.
Oh, yeah. The oral history really dives into
She's quite a character. Is this the scene where they think she was actually having sex, but she claims that she wasn't? Because there's one scene in the movie.
That was the murder scene.
It's later.
Is it later? Okay.
Yeah. Which a scene I think they ended up cutting out completely.
Okay.
So Macy on his second take, he fucked it up and he said ass in her cock. PTA loved it. He thought it was the funniest thing ever.
He's right.
They do another take, gets it right. Take 4, he fucks it up again, makes the same mistake. And then PTA in the movie uses it. Macy has no idea. He's watching the movie and he uses the ass in her cock and he's like, oh my God, what a genius this guy is.
It's so funny.
And it's like, it literally makes the scene. It's so good. You want to do a little Ricky J for like a split second?
Sure. He is probably best known as an actor in movies like this now, but he's a world-class magician, was a world-class magician, and was a world-class historian of magic, and was an incredible kind of
confidence games guy.
Yes, con man guy. He understood hustling, and he and Mamet teamed up a lot to talk about, like, the House of Games is a movie that he appears in where he helped kind of explain some of the cons.
PTA is obsessed with House of Games.
There's there's a whole lot of great kind of if you're at all interested in Ricky J, and he goes on to appear in other PTA movies, he's the narrator at the beginning of Magnolia. There's Ricky J and his 52 Assistants, which I think is on HBO Max right now, which is his 1-hour Broadway show doing card tricks that is fucking amazing if you at all care about stuff like this. And then one of the best New Yorker stories of all time is written by Mark Singer about Ricky J. and about his history as a performer and what he's interested in and how he, like, from the age of 6 was born to be one of the greatest magicians of all time. He only died a few years ago. Incredibly intelligent person, and filmmakers, for whatever reason, were always very attracted to him, and they felt like he brought that kind of gravitas and weirdness to movies. He's one of those just in that collection of odd people that you see when you're 14 and you're like, what's up with that guy? Like, I just got obsessed with him for a couple of years.
Well, this became, I think, probably his most famous part, right?
Probably, yeah.
And he's just it's just, he's playing it so straight. He's just like, I gotta tell these guys like where they're showing up.
Also, kind of a talented guy in the movie, right? He's filming all the movie scenes, but he's also the editor. It's like, look at this guy.
One of the funniest little tiny scenes is when he's later directing the 2 girls in the hot tub near the end.
Right.
And he's explaining what they're supporting. He's like, oh yeah, thong in the mouth. That's great. Like,
yeah.
He's like, we don't have to cut it. It's video.
In one of the deleted scenes where the commentary is when John C. Reilly's doing magic for Ricky Jay, and then Ricky Jay finally breaks. And PTA is talking about how hard it was to make him laugh. And it's just going and going. He's like, I was going to keep the camera rolling until Reilly made this guy laugh. And then finally he broke and he's like, look, there it is. He laughed. Like, he was so psyched about it. So we have that. That scene's amazing. We go right to the Colonel walking in on the OD.
Yeah.
Which leads to the classic, oh, you think so, doctor? And then twice in 2 days.
This
The
is
chicken
twice in 2 days.
Maybe I'll think about getting some new shit. What do you think?
Please don't die.
It's just Apex Colonel. He's so good. Carry that girl out. They drag her out, and it's Scotty's big entrance. And he does.
Was he like, is she okay?
Yeah, she can be okay. They're like, shut the fuck up.
He's like, he's say, hey, Bart.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, Bart, is she okay? Shut the fuck up.
And so we get Scotty J meeting Dirk, and just like, oh, this guy's in love with Dirk. Here we go with that. And then the Colonel finally bringing him over to the best scene of all time.
Great big cock, yeah.
This is I'm just telling you now, this is my most rewatchable stretch. This makes me the happiest. From Little Bill all the way to Jack says you have a great big cock, may I see it? And then the Colonel Ridgely doing the
sunglasses.
Doing the spit take of, oh my God, look at that thing. And popping up and going, well, thank you, Eddie.
So
it's the apex for me.
In the oral history, Ellswood describes this as a 4 take, like a quadruple take, but it's not. He just looks. He doesn't break. He's just staring at this dude's dick.
Well, he's squinting
like
and his eyes go, his forehead goes from squinting to just his whole face freezes. And then he just pops and goes, well, thank you, Eddie. And then they keep it on him for like 8 seconds.
I know. It's amazing.
The Colonel.
He's wonderful.
This movie's elite.
Is he your favorite pederast in films?
Well, thank you, Eddie. It's another like
Apex
line
Mountain for pederasts.
It's either him or the Jesus in The Big Lebowski.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He has to go notify everybody.
When I first started watching this movie all the time on my illegal cable box, that's when I was living with my roommate Richard, my last roommate before my wife moved in. And we watched Boogie Nights, and we were just constantly, we were talking like the Colonel, like, well, thank you, Eddie. It's like, I brought you back a coffee. Thank you, Eddie. And we went to like a place with Boogie Nights I can't even describe. Just taking lines and just incorporating them.
Think about how fun Robert Ridgely would be like in real life. Like, because that's the story, is Robert Ridgely and Ernie Adams, who's PTA's father, they were really close friends.
Yeah.
And he tells this really heartbreaking story at the end of the commentary about how they died like within days of each other.
Yeah.
And so that was just like the darkest period. And Magnolia in part comes out of that. But I mean, they seem like 2 pretty big crack ups. Like in the 70s, hanging out with Tim Conway, having drinks, and 11-year-old
just
PTA
like
hanging out with those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been the time of his life.
Well, I was going to say this later, but this is a good spot for this. When the Colonel's butter in my ass speech.
Oh, and Ridgely's cracking up in the back?
Ridgely breaks in the back, and he has to kind of blur him. You can see, and I somehow never noticed this for a couple years.
I think it actually works for this scene. That like somebody would laugh at that. Yeah. Like it's almost because
you can see him for
it's
people
like
listening.
Philip Baker Hall, and you're like, oh, Philip Baker Hall is going to be really buttoned up here or whatever, and then he's just like,
you see him kind of laughing a little bit, and then when he says "butter in my ass, lollipops in my mouth," that's just what I like. And you see Ridgely just like having like a stroke in the back. It's the funniest fucking thing, and it's so good. Like PTA can't cut that. You can't be like, oh, we got to do that again. Bob was laughing in the background.
I think Chris is right. Like it contributes to it, and it's perfect. And now it's like an Easter egg.
Where have you ever read Reed's poem in the hot tub to another woman? Because that's the next scene.
I love you.
I can't. He's a genius. He's a genius, Reilly. That is amazing. What does he say? Like down in the sugar tree?
Yeah, but the bees won't
bees?
sting because you love me. My next big rewatchable scene is that Dirk's going to be a star montage, which
after the first shoot,
when he comes up with his
after
name,
the first shoot. Now the first shoot you could argue is a rewatchable as well. That's the only like real sex part. They get a little heated, but the reactions going around when Dirk, when she's like, before she says that's a huge cock, when we cut to Ricky Jay and the other guy, then we cut to Little Bill, who's just like, Jesus, like he's already like messed up emotionally anyway from his wife. Then Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Scotty J quivering.
He's holding, he's like, oh. And then the Becky and Reed doing the tilt, which I thought is like such a great choice. Why are their heads tilting? What would
They're trying to get the proportions, just trying to make sure it's a 360 experience.
But that part, I like that scene just because it gets me to the Dirk's going to be a star montage. We get a shopping spree. We get to find out his thoughts on imported Italian nylon.
He gets his hair done.
We get his hair done. You get a little on the set of Spanish pantalones. I can roll her over and go right in doggy style. Should I use a Spanish accent? We get to see the marquee, and then the reading reviews kill me.
Oh my God.
So I tried to freeze frame it to see if I could get just read you guys like two
and
paragraphs.
It's just like another sucktastic.
Right. Diggler's more eruptive than a volcano on a bad day.
He makes like a little weird choices too. Like it starts off with Jack reading, and then he double tracks with Amber reading over it, so you're hearing them almost at the same time.
Yeah.
And then the split screen, and then they split into 4 screens, and then you're seeing scenes from Spanish Pantalones, and then you're also seeing scenes of like Dirk trying on clothes, and then all of a sudden it goes to the dance sequence.
Apex mountain of people reading their own reviews. This or Citizen Dick and Singles.
Oh my God, I would go with this. I love the 4 screen too because it's with the square TVs in the late 90s. What do you do with that? You can only see like 2. You couldn't even see the other 2 sides, but and it goes right into the disco scene, which is so fucking funny. And just it's actually really fun to watch.
Beautiful.
It's so really straight. Great. Yeah. He kind of wants to make like a studio musical.
It's like Adam Shankman.
It's Adam Shankman, who went on to be like a filmmaker. That's a director.
It's when Roller Girl comes in and he swirls her around. I don't know. It's just
the
so
woman
goddamn
dancing
enjoyable.
With Dirk in that scene is incredible. Like a great dancer. I don't know.
She's like fake Jennifer Beals or whatever.
Yeah, she's great. It goes right from that to now we're in the van with them pitching Brock Landers and Chest Rockwell.
So my take was that they were driving to Vegas for the award show. Is that right? Like, is the Adult Video Awards or whatever?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Is
it's
that
the 2nd annual Adult Film Awards?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're going. Yeah, fair. And I love how earnest he is, Wahlberg.
Yeah, he's like John Holmes. He's disrespectful to women.
Meanwhile,
that's not cool.
In Brock Landers' Oral Majesty 7, he's like slapping multiple women. Yeah. He's abandoned that strategy.
Do you think it was a good idea to raise the specter of John Holmes in this movie? Because then it creates a reality.
I liked it.
Where this is real.
It's kind of like Kendall Roy showing up in Industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, interesting. So you're saying Boogie Nights should exist in a world where John Holmes doesn't exist?
Well, we're getting into
like it's too meta.
Nits, but to me, it's sort of like, is there a world in which there is a Dirk Diggler and John Holmes, and they're both the biggest star in porno? It's already weird that there's one male star in straight porno.
Yeah.
So 2?
Yeah. The guy's name is Brock Landers. His partner is Chest Rockwell. And it cuts to Reynolds. He's like, ha ha, those are great names. He's so excited. That would have been my reaction too. I would have reacted exactly like Burt Reynolds.
They are great names.
Don't make me chase you, Raphael.
And then it goes right to the 2nd annual Adult Film Awards with the speech, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm never going to give a speech at the annual Adult Film Awards, but if I did, I would do the.
Are you sure?
These movies,
you're going to have all this time on your hands now that the Rewatchables is over.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you have kind of like a Jack Horner energy. You know,
Thank you.
You just want to make a film that's right and true and dramatic.
Yeah, let's keep rocking and rolling. Next one I have is what else would you have before we get to Angels Live in My Town?
I mean, touring Dirk's new house is amazing.
Oh, so I had that.
Yeah.
The Dirk's Dojo.
I mean, and she's like, "Oh, you have an Asian room."
Yeah.
It's Asian. Like that whole sequence, the initials on his drapes and walking through all of that stuff and then showing off the car.
Where did you get the idea to do that?
So fun. I mean, that's the other thing too is most of the people in this movie are either stupid or uneducated. Like,
yes.
Like deeply.
Yeah.
You know, like there's not really a smart person in the movie, with the exception maybe of Jack. But even Jack, he's watching one of the worst movies of all time and he's like, this is the movie I want them to remember me by.
Right.
Like that's a dawning moment where, you know, they're just like,
well, Buck
they're
knows
simple.
a lot about
they're simple.
stereo
They're not
equipment.
stupid. But he doesn't though. That's the joke.
Yeah,
the joke is that he's like
4 channels of quads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dirk's apartment has a conversation pit. It has 2 horrendous oil paintings from Jesse St. Vincent.
Oh yeah.
It's got the DD curtains. Do you have a CR curtains, Chris?
Not yet. They're on order.
That's a
Supply
really good
chain
idea.
I think
issues.
you should get them.
Yeah.
CR. It's got the mirrored ceiling over the bedroom. My favorite House's, like one of House's favorite lines was when he shows Amber his bedroom and opens the door. He's like, "It's my dojo."
It's Asian themed.
It has that whole karate feel. That combined this whole section with I gave this the Dracula the Musical Award, Best Imitation of Real Art, the first Brock Landers movie. And let's get some of that Saturday Night Beaver, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh
I love that. It's true. You are Brock Landers too. That just felt like that. He probably stole that. I'm guessing he stole that.
Something he saw in a porno.
Angels Live in My Town is fantastic. I'm actually amazed he never just shot Angels Live in My Town. Like that's how crazy PTA is.
Maybe he did.
Maybe
his
he did.
private stash.
That would
Only
be a
Maya
great
Rudolph's seen
question.
it.
If you have him come back, you gotta ask him that.
Yeah, did you shoot Angels Live in My Town? Like for real.
Also, just you mentioned let's go get some of that Saturday Night Beaver. Literally right after someone says that in a movie, Ricky Jay says it's a real film. You made it fly. That's amazing.
It's a real film, Jack. And then he goes, "It's the best work we've ever done."
Yeah.
So funny.
It's a real film, Jack is another line from this movie that I think has transcended the movie. I know I've tried to work it into everyday conversations. New Year's Eve?
Yeah, 1980?
This is by far my most rewatchable scene.
Floyd Gondoli?
Yeah, Floyd, because the
whole sequence.
How many movies have 2 indelible characters show up an hour and a half into the movie? And to have Todd and Floyd show up this late into the film.
It's a great call.
Chris, I don't want to win an Oscar and I don't want to reinvent the wheel. That's an amazing scene.
So Floyd is like basically a adult theater owner, right? All up and down the West Coast. And he's like, I have distro for videos. And Colonel's going to pay for it and you're going to shoot it. And
But he takes over Colonel's business after the unfortunate incident with the Colonel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that Gondoli says is best quote. These are the next stars. These are the real people
and
in the
it's
world.
like these pimply, like cokeheads.
Like they
Poor
haven't pulled off
17-year-olds, who look like shit is so funny and so depraved. Everything he does is remarkable. And also, like Phil Biggerhall. This is kind of like where his legend is made. Like he was on Seinfeld and he had been obviously like in Secret Honor, which is where Altman made a movie with him about Nixon that PTA loved, and PTA always worshipped him and he made him the star.
Back. You got to go back to Midnight Run because he's Sydney.
Midnight Run. He's a character actor in the 80s.
Seinfeld pushed him to another level, it felt like.
Right. But this movie, I think maybe for our generation, is where he becomes the character actor. Like when he's in a movie, you're like, yes, absolutely. And he gets all the best lines because PTA knows how good he is.
Chris, if you had to pick between butter in your ass or lollipops in your mouth, you could only have one.
I think I'd go lollipops.
What is butter in my ass? I
was hoping you were going to take it here.
What's the
that's Last Tango in Paris, isn't it?
That might be what he was referencing. What year was that movie? 78?
Yeah. So he's been sitting on that one for 2 years, processing it.
Another example of a movie that is an art house film that also titillated audiences.
Call me crazy. Call me a pervert. Okay.
Deal.
There's one little thing I'm going to do in this life, and that's I'm make a dollar and cent in this business. Fucking love Floyd so much. Floyd, we'll do best Floyds ever in Apex Mountain.
The whole, do you view the party as one whole scene from when this part starts?
I'm just pulling out the Colonel part. I love that the most. The Scotty J scene I would have next.
The kissing Dirk.
It's like the kissing Dirk and showing the car.
It's one of the most uncomfortable 3-minute scenes in the history of movies.
Mm-hmm. So effective.
You know it's coming. You know it's probably going to happen, and then it actually happens. And then the I'm a fucking idiot part.
The whole thing with Scotty too is like on the page. It probably doesn't say that. I looked at the script. It's not like that, but like you can just tell from the way that Hoffman plays it. It's like this is a guy who probably just started showing up at the porn set one day and like doesn't actually really work there even.
Yeah, he's just holding a boom mic.
Yeah, like it's just like, oh, Scotty's here again. You know,
another guy just looking for a family, right?
That's right.
And looking for love.
If this movie came out today, I think it would be the most memed movie for like 3 years straight. Like just the I'm a fucking idiot. You put that right under Nathaniel Hackett and just screws up another Broncos game and you're just ready to go.
That's a good one.
But there's like 100 of those, right? You just grab different pieces and you could go. Bill killing himself. You want to talk about the cinematic?
Yeah, I mean, because
moves in that one, because that's a one shot too.
But so "Do Your Thing," the Charles Wright song, starts playing very quiet at the end of the Scotty J scene, and like the tension starts ratcheting up. And this is the most important scene in the movie. This is when the movie flips.
Yeah,
and
and you also think you're at a New Year's party and it's going to be happy, and we're bringing in the '80s.
Yes,
this is going to be great.
And it's obviously everything is ending.
It's nightmare season, and this whole sequence is also very similar to me to the first 3 minutes of the movie, where it's just bravura of filmmaking, like incredible following him and the energy and Macy's performance, carrying he sees them fucking in the room. He's got a glass of champagne. He goes right out to his car, puts the champagne glass right on top of the car, opens his car, goes in, takes the gun out of the glove compartment, locks his car door, but then leaves the champagne on top of the car, then goes in the house.
Yeah, so he's had a complete psychotic breakdown.
Yes. So the whole movie, that Nina Hartley thing is played for a joke. For the most part, the first hour and a half, with the exception of the mom stuff, is pretty comic. It's like pretty like, we have, that's one big cock. It's like all these kind of like you're saying, almost like these memeable moments. And then when Little Bill does that, the whole movie turns on a dime, and everything that these people have been doing have consequences. And the fact that Amber gets Dirk into coke at that party winds up being this like, complete trap door for him, and all this stuff that
Todd comes in that leads.
By the way, how did Dirk hold out for that long?
That was my biggest picking nit of the whole movie. Is you're telling me that Dirk has been in the porn industry for at least 18 months, maybe 2 years, and has never tried cocaine.
I think we can talk about it.
Natural highs.
He likes to work out at Vince's.
But you're right though, Chris. Like the introduction of Floyd means the end of the Colonel, basically.
Yeah.
The introduction of Todd means Dirk's life is going to go in the shitter because of cocaine. Dirk tries cocaine. Little Bill commits suicide and murder-suicide in the house. And Scotty J is basically fully embarrassed and like fully subservient now to Dirk. That's the whole movie. Everything is different.
And Buck and Jesse meet.
Right.
You got that.
Which is the only kind of like weirdly, disturbingly happy thing that happens in this movie.
And Reed is just still a dumb idiot. Reed's like a golden retriever just running around making poems. All right, next rewatchable scene. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're just basically doing every scene in the movie. The Amber Waves doc, Fire and Fire.
Yeah.
The Brock and Chess story, whatever it's called.
And they both look like shit. Like they're really starting to look bad in that.
Who's better in this scene? Dirk or Reed?
Reed.
Amber, I live in this world. I don't like violence any more than you do.
Violence plagues us.
Reed is so good.
And then we get, the documentary is just so good. And then when you watch Exhausted, it goes to a whole other level how good it is, where he's such a psycho about, I'm just stealing this one part, but I'm not just going to steal it. I'm going to replicate it.
Yeah.
And by the way, no YouTube's ever coming. Nobody will ever realize what I did, but I don't even care. And then,
for
now
the
we have the
9
ability.
people who have seen Exhausted at the time of this movie coming out, Well,
that is one thing that I always really, really liked and kind of helped me understand movies about both him and Tarantino is, they would get called out on the things that they were lifting from other filmmakers, and they were like, so what? They were like, that is movie making.
Right.
Movie making is seeing what came before you, iterating on it, trying to be more creative, trying to tell the story through your lens with their tools. That's all creativity.
You know what it is, Sean? It's jealousy, it's deceitfulness, and it's vindictiveness. What can you expect when you're on top?
So good.
The Napoleon when he was the king. It's history repeating himself.
Of the Roman Empire?
And then we get the
so you guys don't think these guys read books?
Then we get the blocking the sex scene part was great.
Yeah.
But then I love when it ends and he's like, Amber, that was so good. You're like a director now.
There's 3 different scenes in this movie where people are sitting in front of an editing bay and talking about how good their movie is, and their movie sucks.
It's like beyond sucks. I love this whole section. I love the directed by Amber Waves with the music too, where it's like very 1980.
When are we doing? Would it be Ice on Ice? Like, what would be the name of the CR documentary?
The CR documentary.
Yeah.
C versus R.
The action is the juice.
That's it.
Next, I have Dirk versus Jack.
Oh.
What do you have? Would you throw something in there?
You've got the touch.
Yeah, I've got Dirk versus Jack going right into You Got the Touch. But I guess we could split those up.
Right. You're right.
When,
okay, yeah.
I mean, it's not is the Colonel's arrest is after...
Yeah, that makes me sad.
But it's like...
I love the Colonel so much,
scene.
but that's when you're like, all right, you really... But
it's crucial because you're just like, these people, like, of course. Of course this guy is a fucking degenerate, you know?
Well, this was House's big point about this movie because, House was an English major. So he would, that was where we would always argue about stuff. But he was right on this, where he would say, this movie is all about, like, you're just penalty for whatever your sins were. Everybody who has a penalty coming to them, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, can you do enough to get away from the penalty, or do you just get what you deserve?
Right.
And everyone in this movie who should get what they deserve gets what they deserve, including the Colonel.
Right. And somebody like, and then that's a very interesting conversation then about why the Becky scene isn't in there. Right?
I agree. I think that isn't something that he wanted to show. I think he didn't want to show that in too many ways that who this industry really victimizes, especially at this time, is the young women who worked in it. I mean, that was
we get the last time we see her is at the wedding, and they're moving to Bakersfield.
Mm-hmm. You got a big promotion.
In a way, it's like a happy ending for her. So you bring that other thing, and it's like, well, nobody's gonna have. I would have kept it. I think we all agree that I think that should have stayed in, but I think part of why he didn't keep it was he talks about this in the commentary for that scene. They have Wahlberg actually crash the car, which he says is like his biggest. He's like, I'm going to regret that for the rest of my life because Wahlberg could have been hurt.
Yeah.
But Wahlberg's like, I'll actually crash the car on telephone pole. So they had it, but one of the cameras didn't work. So they had to use the side camera of the accident. So I think that bothered him.
And that's why he has to, that's why he's like, I can get the vet fixed when they.
Right. So we never find out what happened to the vet. We never find out what happened to Becky Barnett. All that stuff would have been answered. But he made the point. He's like, look, when it doesn't work out for Amber and she's just sobbing hysterically after her child custody hearing. He's like, that's it. I don't need to show the ramifications of porn through 9 characters.
It's just strange because
Little Bill's already died.
They bring Becky's boyfriend in, and it's like, this is just too good to be
pay it
true.
off.
Like this, like how is this guy who's like working at Pep Boys and he's dating an adult film actress and he's just like super cool with it?
Well,
like,
it changes her future in a way, to Bill's point. And if we had never seen the deleted scene, we would have just thought there are people who work in the porn industry and then they get married and they leave.
Right.
And there's certainly trauma attached to it, but you don't necessarily go on to like get beaten by your spouse. But I think House's point is really true and interesting. I mean, Amber actually did deserve to be punished in some way for her behavior. I mean, she was a bad mom and she could have exposed her kids to dangerous stuff. Obviously, Todd gets what's coming to him because he's a maniac and he gets blown away in this movie. Obviously, the Colonel goes to prison and gets his ass kicked in prison. And Dirk, who does a lot of bad things, goes back.
But nothing too bad.
But he goes back to Jack, his father, his Jesus, and apologizes and pays penance. And then he's taken back in and he's redeemed.
Well, apparently in this script, they find out that, in a deleted scene, the Becky scene, we find out Johnny Doe has died in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
In the script, Johnny Doe was in a car accident, head-on collision with Dirk's parents.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be Dirk goes back to his house
and
before he comes back at the end.
Cheryl Lynn is like living there and
she's
stuff.
living there and she says, your parents are dead. So the parents get the just deserve too of like they were such shitty parents to him.
That's right.
Roller Girl is out of this because Roller Girl is just skating through the movie, right?
Yeah, but she does have that violent moment where she kicks the guy's face in, and that's kind of her reckoning with like her past
that guy's
private
getting
life.
That guy's getting what he deserves.
Yes.
Right.
Buck, who's this nice guy just sailing through the movie, he has the one moment where there's the violence all around him, which we'll get to in a second.
Also a great metaphor for the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's kind of coasting.
Dirk versus Jack. This is such a cool scene. I'm so glad it exists. And, we found out in the oral history that Burt Reynolds was just a pain in the ass. There was a huge PTA versus Burt blowout the day before. Some people theorized he was trying to wind him up so he could get the right amount of
There's
testosterone.
also like if you watch this scene, to watch the scene after the Pacino, DiCaprio, Musso, and Frank scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood about like one day you're going to be the guy who's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And it's like Burt Reynolds getting yelled at by Mark Wahlberg, and he shoves him and everything, but it's like, you imagine Burt Reynolds is like, I don't get fucking yelled at.
Well, he does hit him during the scene.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like he's grabbing at the headband, but he does kind of whack him. And Wahlberg's got so much. He turns into the guy from Fear in that scene. And then everybody around them is just so horrified. But Reynolds is great. Like, that's where the physicality of Reynolds, the QB on the prison team, and you feel it. Like, that's just a different scene if it's Dustin Hoffman.
I'm so angry. I'm on the verge of crying. Like, you're not my mother. You're not my mother. Like,
it's every line he has is elite in that.
Part of the movie is sold on that conflict, right? That scene is in the trailer, where he's like, "You're fired," like that is such an electrifying moment in the movie, and it like is the chief conflict. It's these two guys,
and this guy who's just like, "It's my big dick." Like,
I'm ready to shoot, Jack.
Yeah,
I'm ready to shoot. I'm not shooting like this. I'm ready to shoot. What state? It's so good. Reynolds is so good in that scene.
He is.
When he's like, he does one of those at one point. It turned into like a Goodfellas episode. The first assistant director, John Wildermuth, said, I think the reason Paul baited Burt is the next day we shot the scene in the backyard by the pool, blah, blah, blah. And he said, all of that energy between these characters was real energy that had been building and manifesting over the weeks prior. And then it exploded all in that scene on camera. And we go right. And he also does the "You're Not My Mom," which was, the lingering Oedipus part of this whole movie. And he just calls it out there. We go right from there to "You Got the Touch," which, thank God that exists, both in this movie and then all the deleted scenes. One of the DVDs has Reilly just in the studio room for like 5 minutes doing like, "You got the touch," and doing points and playing the guitar and tour de force.
You have to, this is basically, it's like Step Brothers before Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Totally. He's gone into full-blown comedy. And so Michael Penn is working the boards, who's the composer. And there is a really long extended deleted scene of them talking to Michael Penn that might be the funniest thing
about the mix
to ever not appear in a movie.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of it in the movie. It's definitely taking away from my vocal, that stuff where he's talking about take the bass down. But you can see that Reilly is improvising with Michael Penn in that extended sequence. It's very, very special. So Mark Wahlberg intentionally singing poorly or not a good singer?
Oh, intentionally singing poorly.
I would say intentional. I actually think maybe a tiny bit too intentional.
Okay.
Why? What do you think?
I don't know. He can rap sort of.
It's
but
like
can he
it's
sing?
also just like that time period is like Journey and bands like that where like those guys, like I don't like those bands, but they can really sing. Like those dudes were like vocalists. It was like, so him trying to be Steve Perry or whatever is fucking hilarious.
I was obviously smoking my fair share of pot in the late 90s.
What?
I had a purple bong with a nickname and the whole thing.
What was the nickname?
I've talked about this in the past.
What was the nickname?
I'm not going to share that.
Amber Waves?
It could have been. Could have been Dirk Diggler. This whole part of the movie is so much fucking funnier, like when you're stoned out of your mind, where it's just like watching those guys sing Feel the Heat. And I don't know, there's something so silly about it that if you're in the right state of mind, you're just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Then if you're in a normal state, you're like, this is funny. It's somewhere between those two.
I was also the absolute perfect age to see this movie for this part because You've Got the Touch is the song from the animated Transformers movie, which of course was a big movie when I was a little kid. So when Dirk Diggler started singing You've Got the Touch, I was like, oh shit.
Right. Amazing. You want to just skip forward to My Awesome Mixtape 6?
Sure.
So there's a whole sequence here that is not a scene. That I don't know if you'd say like it's whatever most rewatchable or anything like that.
It's the one that he thinks is the best scene in the movie, right?
The Coke frenzy?
The mom scene. Are you my mom?
Yeah, so it's everything. It's lock and load, Jack, when Johnny Doe starts shooting.
Yeah.
And then you hear compared to what? And then again, compared to what? A song that Scorsese has also used. And you see Kurt shooting the hot tub scene. You see Buck and Jesse trying to get a bank loan.
Can you fuck me in the ass?
You see the Todd double entry in different outfits with cocaine, which indicates that maybe he picked up twice in one day.
Yeah.
And it's super manic Scorsese. It's total Goodfellas. Like, holy shit, everything is getting out of control here. Everything's going bad for everybody.
Table.
They're underneath the table. They're doing the thing that we make fun of Scorsese for, but that PTA actually did, which is the snort a line and then whip your head up and your eyes explode out of your head.
But
and then you go to the Robert Downey Sr., and arguing to get the tapes out of the studio.
That's
and,
a YP,
that's not an MP.
Yeah.
That's a YP. Yeah. Your problem, And
I do love that part.
That whole moment, and it's 6 scenes crunched together in 90 seconds. And it's incredible.
And those two fucking maniacs just like coked out of their minds being like, are you my mom? I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here.
Amber and Roller Girl all day doing cocaine in a room and not leaving.
Amber did a lot of cocaine in this movie.
Yeah, she does. From the first time we meet her.
Not a ton of side effects by 1984 either. I felt like she would have been either way skinnier or just looked a little more haggard. She looks exactly the same. I'm gonna fast forward over the donut shop and the Roller Girl and all that. I wouldn't call those scenes rewatchable. We'll hit them later. My awesome mixtape 6. Dirk flatlining it's been written about, like they were really throwing the firecrackers for 2 days, and he actually, I think, had like a breakdown.
Yeah.
And they just capture it with the camera, and it's amazing. It's like, what, 35 seconds?
I just like, do they shoot stuff like this anymore? Where they're just like, we're gonna play Jesse's girl for
a 10-minute
also, did he
crazy
know he
scene?
was gonna get Jesse's girl and Sister Christian cleared? Like, so much of this shit is just PTA going all in, and the idea of them he's like behind the camera hitting 2x4s together to simulate firecracker sounds.
Such a
It's like holy shit! It's like Apocalypse Now.
It's an incredible scene from start to finish.
It's terrifying and funny. It's the summation of like everything he's been trying to do.
I feel like Thomas Jane in real life became the guy from this movie because it was they were so all in. I just think he might have become Todd Parker.
If you could grow Todd Parker's mustache, would you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, would you?
Oh.
Big, bushy.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking Civil War colonel.
Todd Parker and Scotty J are the two characters where it's just all the actor. The actor's just like, I'm going to make some choices.
Yep.
I'm fucking going for it. This is all attitude and look. And
I think Thomas Jane's performance in that scene in particular is like kind of underrated, where when he loses it and he's like explaining how he's going to go into the safe under the floor and he's screaming.
In the goddamn master bedroom on the fucking floor in the goddamn fucking floor safe.
So I also thought like the one thing that we didn't remark upon about this scene where you're like, oh, and Todd goes and scores twice in one day and stuff like that is like right before the like, it's my big dick and I want to fuck scene.
Yeah.
They've switched to meth, right? Like he
I
says,
don't know. I always assume this is just cocaine.
He says to him,
I think speed,
be careful,
whatever
that's
speed
not.
Is.
He says, be careful, that's not coke.
Right. Is that when they're talking about the pink stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like Dirk's like, I'm fucking having an aneurysm all the time. Like that, I think a lot of the movie is shaped by that.
It might be part of the reason why he can't get it up too. That he's changed his mixture, his medication.
Well, you need a lot of blood too to get that thing filled, ready
the
to roll.
Torpedo zone.
Yeah.
Mr. Torpedo Zone.
Our 3 songs were Sister Christian, Jesse's Girl, and 99 Love Balloons.
Yeah.
Fantastic choices.
Don't you love when Molina gets the words wrong in Jesse's Girl?
It's the first time he'd heard that song.
I love that.
He'd never heard those songs before.
So good.
It stays on him. It's a little weird at the end when he shoots those guys and they leave, and then it's like, all right, back to the house.
Yeah, like I'm sure the cops won't show up after this.
Right. All right.
Well, and then was there a deleted scene of Molina having like a shootout with the cops or something?
I think it was in the script. I don't know. I never saw that scene if it exists.
They didn't share it. They make it sound like they filmed it where a helicopter shows up and like shoots him up.
Can you imagine Bob Shea being like, you didn't put the fucking helicopter that I paid for this?
Well, what's crazy is we have the donut shop scene. We have fucking Dirk having a jerk off in a church parking lot, then getting beat up. And we have Roller Girl, right? And it's like, man, we've hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And PTA is like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to give you this 10-minute, the craziest Scorsese scene that he's never filmed. And now I'm bringing another character you've never seen, Molina. Now we're at the 2-hour mark. We have another guy who's giving like one of the best performances of his life. I'm going to play these 3 weird 80s songs so we know we're in 1983. And everything is just going to lose its mind.
Everything Molina says too, when he's like, "You guys want to play baseball?"
What did that mean? I was going to ask Chris. I know
it's not code for drugs. I think he's been awake for 3 days.
I think so too.
But what is cocaine baseball? What is it?
I don't think it's cocaine anything.
No, I think he's like, he's been awake for like 3 days. He's like, should we just play baseball?
Oh, he actually wanted to play baseball?
I think so.
Yeah. I thought it was like a cocaine game.
Oh, no.
I thought it was like innings.
No,
and
the whole thing with that character, it's like,
oh,
we just want to hang out. Like, he was just like having people around.
Oh, what a lunatic. I thought that was some cocaine
was how I read it. I was like,
know.
He's just so out of his mind. He's just saying whatever pops in.
And then I think that's like the last truly rewatchable scene. We could do the end of the movie too, but that's all I got. All right, what do you got, Sean? Most rewatchable.
The moment Floyd Gondoli walks into the house, all the way through Little Bill's murder. That's
a great choice.
That's my favorite.
It's a great choice. There are no wrong choices, by the way.
So what was the second half of the party where it's Little Bill, the Colonel?
Yeah, that's
and the Colonel sees Dirk. Then I'm going with that.
That's mine. It's my wife has an ass in her cock, right into the Colonel OD, right into Scotty J, right into Colonel's advice for Eddie.
That's mine.
That might be the greatest 9 minutes of my life. It's very possible.
May I see it?
What's aged the best? We mentioned the soundtrack. 25 years of spouting out lines from the movie has aged the best for me. It's still hilarious to me. We didn't mention this line yet. Jack talking about Amber. She's the best. She's a wonderful mother, you know. She's a mother to all those who need love.
Sounds like Trump.
She's the worst mother ever. What are you talking about? Her kid has literally been abandoned. She's calling him at 3 a.m.
Sounds like Trump.
You're a lovely mother, a wonderful mother.
Scotty's outfits we mentioned.
Yeah.
Just pushed it over the top.
Yep.
None of them fit.
Yep.
He's just crammed in all of them. I wrote down the best looking, best sounding, best executed DVD of the first 10 years of DVDs. I feel pretty strongly about that one. I think DVD started to get good in the mid 2000s in a real way.
Mm-hmm.
This was like 6 years ahead of its time.
But he's a guy who grew up obsessed with laser discs. And so he wanted to have, and he talked about what was the first commentary that he said he watched? Oh, I can't remember what it was now, but he said he listened to it over and over and over again. And he was like, I still think it's the best. I wish I could remember what it was.
Misty Beethoven?
It wasn't the opening of Misty Beethoven, but he believed in giving viewers like the total package. And even the packaging of that yellow with the slipcase.
I'm so upset I missed the Laserdisc era. I can't, it's such a big miss for me.
That really,
I was right there. I was the only child. I would have bought them.
No?
I mean, you make fun of me for buying my Blu-rays, but this is my version of it. I'm buying all these things because I love these objects. They're so fun.
But like early 90s, when I really was like, all right, I am watching these movies over and over again and trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work. And I was just all in. I would have been right there with Laserdiscs. I was buying fucking VHSs like an idiot.
The players were expensive, right?
They were also.
I don't care. I would have paid for it.
Yeah, and it was like kind of like the way like stereo equipment was, where it was just like, Jesus, I have a receiver.
I remember that. I remember the discs were expensive. I think the discs were like $80, $90.
I remember like $50, $60 in the wall, like flipping through them in the record store.
Did they scratch easily too?
I didn't have them. I didn't have a player.
I didn't know anyone who had them. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was a West Coast thing or what, but I never saw them. I didn't really even knew they were a thing.
You can count on at least 10 people listening to this show tweeting at you with their collections of laser discs.
Oh,
because now those are like fucking baseball cards.
I'm with it. I'm just saying nobody if I had even known one person in my life, I would have gotten super jealous. So when the DVDs took off, I felt like I was one of the first people buying DVDs. I was like, these are amazing because I hated VHS.
Yep. Well, the quality was instantaneously so much better.
So much better. Roller Girl, we talked about all the great stuff with her. I didn't mention when she does the talking about Dirk. He can fuck hard, he can fuck gently, he's just the best. Which I then stole talking about LeBron. I'm trying to, when I would talk about LeBron in columns about how he could play fast, he could play slow, he's just the best.
And LeBron was like, this guy gets me.
LeBron's like, thank you. I don't take my skates off and don't fucking come in me is just hilarious. The Reed Dirk movie partnership
Yeah.
Which is just in the, whatever your short list is, you do Rocky and Apollo and Reggie Hammond and Jack Cates, whoever your duos are,
Chet and Brock,
they have to be other. We mentioned the first scene when everyone reacts to his giant penis. I could have had more reactions. They could have gone around the room a little. I could have had the second sound guy. Dirk's room, posters of Bruce Lee, Cheryl Tiegs, Farrah, and Serpico.
And a car, right?
And a car.
And the Corvette he buys.
And the Corvette he buys. No Tony Manero. Saturday Night Fever. I don't know. Maybe that was not totally out yet.
West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah.
By the way, like, he's 17 in that scene, and that's a 12-year-old's room.
Yeah.
Like he's.
So you think he's
at like a ninth grade reading level. Like he's not.
You're really coming for.
I just think it's so funny. Like, I think it's so funny that he's like, what if we got the dumbest guy ever and gave him the biggest dick ever? That's such a funny idea.
Johnny Doe, his character is Rock Harders.
Yeah.
Lock and load, Jack.
I also think, as for What's Age the Best, he looks exactly like Johnny Bananas.
He does.
Like, exactly.
That guy was in I Know What You Did Last Summer
Johnny Bananas
the same year, right?
Which one?
The guy who plays Johnny Doe was also in I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was a great year for him.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. His 1997 is Age the Best.
What's his name?
Jonathan Quint, I think. Something like that. Quinn?
I'd say this, understanding the magnitude of what happened to the Colonel. The fact that all of his girlfriends in the movie look like they're 13 is like hilarious, that nobody noticed or commented on this. This was just part of the Colonel's package.
Yeah.
Even the girl at the award show who we don't even really see. You can see she's like 14.
Yeah, he's like, this is Jamie Lynn. And like Scotty's like, yeah, whatever.
But they definitely dropped the breadcrumbs. Like, this is where it's going with the Colonel. We talked about scenes that shouldn't have been deleted, and I've talked about this many times, but my favorite deleted scene of all time is the 4th Adult Film Awards, when they cut to each person reacting to Dirk winning, and you get to spend time with each character, and it's so fucking funny. And he cut it, and when Sean and I did the pod with him, I guess, Craig, we can play that clip of that, of him, PTA explaining why he didn't keep it. But I just wish he kept it. And I actually think, and it's right before the 80s, on the director's commentary, is like, I just want to get to the 80s. I didn't need it. We'd already seen these characters, but I just completely disagree. I think it's a great 2 minutes. I like the song, and it's on YouTube. You can watch it.
The Melora Walters, when she gives him the award, right? Because there's an amazing story about that, but we can save it for half his internet research if you want.
You just do it now. It's funny.
Well, it's just like they had a room full of extras dressed in 70s garb. And Melora, what's the line? She's just like, I can't wait to have his cock in my mouth. Like,
yeah, she said like 3 inappropriate things.
Like her ad lib from the stage was like, I can't wait to get this guy's cock in my mouth. And like half the extras were just like, I'm fucking out of here.
This is disgusting.
And they had to go recast all the extras.
We mentioned the intros. Reed Rothschild as a What's Age the Best, just a talented guy. I know he's kind of dumb.
Yeah, magician, bartender, poet, songwriter.
Could make margaritas. He knew how to cut pure rock cocaine. He could write music, play guitar. He squatted 350. He looked like Han Solo.
Did he?
Good team guy.
Yep.
There's just a lot of talent, man. A lot of talent.
So What's Age the Best is Reed Rothschild, solid dude.
Multi-talented guy. Yeah.
Cool.
Always had his friends back.
Yep.
Scotty J's meltdown, can I kiss you? Can I kiss you on the mouth? It's just been a funny joke for 25 years. It remains funny.
This is like, that scene is like when Juliet Lippman and I got the same car and I pretended like we didn't.
Oh, you were dating it now.
That's the thing that happened. Yeah, that was her Scotty J moment.
That was my Scotty J moment because I got the car second.
Did you know she had the car?
I did, and then blocked it out, and then I was telling her about it, and she was like, I know, I have that car. Like,
they went to the same dealer and did the same Lisa pre-owned car deal.
Did you go in the car and go, I'm a fucking idiot? I'm a fucking idiot. I like how it's a real film, Jack. And then when we cut back, when he's sadly walking through the porn warehouse and he goes and checks with Ricky Jay and he's like, it is what it is. That disparity. Veronica Hart as the judge was incredible stunt casting in 1997. She was one of the OGs. Everybody in my age group knew who that was.
PTA calls her the Meryl Streep of porn.
And she had essentially had Amber's life, right? Like,
yeah.
What
do you got for What's Age the Best? Anything I left out?
Just the cast. Like a cast that, maybe had one Oscar nomination to its name when it was made and probably has north of 25 now.
What did that
including
cast?
people
Give us,
that
like,
won, right?
50 great movies out of that cast?
Yeah, multiple people have won Best Actor and Best Actress in that group. And
Wahlberg made Shooter.
But just the incredible, and the other thing too is it's not just that he makes this cast, but it's the beginning of putting together his troupe.
Yeah.
And that Hoffman and Julianne Moore and Reilly and all these people crop up in his movies over and over again.
So to Sean's point, my What's Age of the Best also, we've mentioned a ton of it, but the way that thematic stuff ripples across PTA movies going forward from this. So like the roller girl in the back of the limo, Eddie getting beaten up by the guys in the truck, and Buck and Jesse's at the donut shop is basically Magnolia.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
He just like shoots Magnolia in Boogie Nights, and then is like, I'm gonna make but that
let me
whole
blow
like, what
this
if
up.
we were all like just passing one another, and
Yep.
what if like this crazy stuff happened? And then also obviously with Julianne Moore. I mean, Julianne Moore's like the Partridge part is essentially like an extension of a lot of the stuff he was playing with Amber.
Totally. And also, you mentioned Shortcuts and Julianne Moore and Magnolia being like a very self-conscious riff on shortcuts and the idea of like, it's not so much about how people are literally connected, it's about how they're connected like in the wider world. Boogie Nights is about this cross-hatching of all these people's lives.
Yeah. All right, quickie awards. Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award. I already gave it to Spill the Wine, but we should mention You Sexy Thing when we meet Scotty J. And Driver's Seat when we meet Floyd.
Like that.
I'll
Which
just
win the category any other time.
I'll keep Best of My Love in here as mine.
I think
fair. Okay.
Jungle Fever kicks in when Jack starts scheming on luring Dirk into his family.
Mm-hmm.
And then Do Your Thing at the conclusion of the New Year's Eve party.
Big Kahuna Burger Award, Best Use of Food and Drink, the donut shop. Shopping for the donuts actually made me want donuts and still makes me be like,
I think Reed's Margarita.
Margaritas. Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Over the donuts?
I want a margarita now. Like right now, I want a margarita.
He also, like, he has like the glass, like it's like he's working at
fair.
a
Okay.
Coyote.
You
Drops
guys
the
are right.
salt down and
What'd you have for the Den of Thieves Benihana Award for scene stealing location?
Hot Tracks.
Hot Tracks.
I mean, there's two.
I have Jack's house.
Jack's house and Rahad's house.
I never really seriously thought about buying Hot Tracks, but I did really seriously think about buying the Boogie Nights house when it was available in West Covina.
Tell him, like, what happened? What you like kind of promised us. You were like, we're going to do it. We're going to work
that
out
was
at West
the original
Covina.
Ringer HQ.
Yeah, I think people might think we were joking about this, but I really did genuinely think about buying the Boogie Nights house. I never went because if I went, I think I would have ended up buying it. I did the Google thing. My daughter had some soccer tournaments where you drive past there to go to Norco. So I was kind of clocking how long it was going to take and how far it was from LA. And it felt like 15 minutes too far.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem realistic. But then it was like, could we buy it and rent it out and just do shoots from there? Trying to figure out that.
there.
What kind of shoots?
Well, like, could we do like the NBA Over Unders podcast? We're just doing live from the Boogie Nights house.
Kind of a whole new twist on Take Hunter, you know?
That's right.
Well, at some point it was like, wait, this is insane. What are we doing? But I still feel like that house was incredible because it was, even when it was being sold like 3-4 years ago. Yeah, it got bought. But it was totally intact. They never changed it. It was just old people living there, so everything was the same. And
that was one of the coolest things about the research is when they were scouting all the interiors and all like the houses and stuff that they would use. I think Ellsworth talks about how like people had bought houses in the valley, like you could buy a home like on a modest income there, but then they had basically run out of money to update it over the years. So a lot of these houses were still, all the interiors looked like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Awesome. Who do you have for Great Shot Gordo for most cinematic?
So we talked about
a lot of options for this.
We talked about the Steadicam.
Yeah.
Can I just sort of random, but my favorite shot in the movie is the shot of Amber after her son is called and they can't find her. And they're like, Maggie.
When she just looks up.
Just
And she's done, like she's doing coke and she looks up and she watches Dirk doing like the cannonball or whatever. I can't remember what song. Is it A Fooled Around and Fell in Love is playing?
Yeah.
No,
it's
it
goes
Lonely
into
Boy.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible. It's just, first of all, you're like, Julianne Moore is so radiant. Like she's just like eats up the entire screen. It's so fucked up.
That's the happiest she is in the entire movie.
Child essentially jump into the pool, who is her surrogate son, as her real son calls her at a coke den porn house looking for her. and Maurice can't find her. And I just felt like the whole movie, it had so much like emotion in it, but it's like, it's just a shot of an actress.
I know you might think this is annoying, but that's like a deeply literary moment. That's like a moment you find in a great novel. It's like, it's a huge thematic
I don't
thing
find that annoying.
where she's like, this is my son. I chose this son over that son. That's what that whole scene is, you know, and it's 12 seconds. But
they call it back later when Dirk finally comes back. And they're sitting on the couch and she's stroking his head like you would like for like a 7-year-old.
For sure.
And like she got her son back basically. Also important, when he has the fight with Jack and he storms off and Reed's like, Jack, I'll handle this. And it cuts to her and her reaction to it. Because her reaction is the only one that matters. She lost her kid again. All right, we got super nerdy.
Couple other shots.
Yeah. Going into the pool, we already mentioned.
The first sex scene between Amber and Dirk when it goes into the camera upside down.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And then it goes inside the camera and we see the mag run out.
That's a great shot, Gordo.
Cool.
Got in his Fincher bag there.
Major. And he can do that shit if he wants to. Yeah. He doesn't do that stuff anymore.
The Vincent Chase Award for Are We Sure This Character Was Actually Good at His Job? Reed Rothschild, like, are we sure this was an elite porn actor?
We never see him have sex.
And yeah, like, he's such a goofball. This guy's like just banging away there.
On Dirk's first day, Reed is just sitting in a director's chair wearing jeans and drinking a beer. And it's like, are you getting ready or like what's going on? He gets replaced immediately.
Yeah, I'm going to say Reed might not have been. I mean, he does get reviewed well because they talk about Reed Rothschild's supple abs or whatever.
But it's a real, like, he's like the Chase Daniel of porn, right? Like, he's just always getting replaced by the next young gun, you know?
The Butch's Girlfriend Award for Weak Link of the Film. Who do you have?
I want to know what you have.
I want to know what you have. You say first. 1, 2. I had Jesse St. Vincent.
I fucking knew it. I was gonna say,
what the fuck is wrong with you? She's great.
I don't have a weak link, but I knew it's like I know Bill's gonna say Melora Walters, but she's really good.
She's very good in the role. I still don't know what that role is.
You think it could have been more with someone better?
It's either should have been funnier or more interesting. That's why the one deleted scene with her, when she's talking about her career, was by far the most interesting scene she has in the entire movie. Otherwise, she's like, all right, give me 5 traits of this person. You wouldn't be able to.
I really feel like I know you well. I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I have a recasting couch for her that I think you guys are going to enjoy. What do you have, CR?
For the weak link of Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
I don't really have one.
I don't have one either. I kind of forced it with
There
Jesse
are times where like Buck's plotline on rewatch is like, I'm like, I know. Like, there's not as much, like, I don't know, maybe nuance to it or something, but, like, I wouldn't call it the weak link of the movie. It's probably my least favorite of the major plots.
I would agree with that. I mean, it doesn't mean Cheadle's bad.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean it's not well done. It's just, like, after you've...
They don't give Buck a ton to do. Well, let's go to What's Age the Worst. I don't have a lot. There was a surprise impact of Wahlberg and Reynolds in 97 that I think has faded because they're such a big part of this movie. We mentioned how Dirk and Roller Girl are 17 at the start of this movie. I guess that technically qualifies it.
But that, of course, was definitely what was happening in that business.
PTA's director's commentary has aged the best and the worst. I almost want him to do it again. He's pretty out of his mind.
It would be funny if he did the director's commentary on his director's commentary.
Oh my God.
Because he like gets up and goes to the bathroom.
Yeah, he stops to pee. He honestly sounds like he's been hanging out with the guys from the last hour of the movie, and he probably was.
I mean, you can see that even in the making of on the Magnolia documentary too. It feels like he'll never do anything like that ever again. I mean, we've had a couple of really fun conversations with him, but he won't unload the way that he used to.
But this was the greatest thing about DVD. It's almost like the first 2 years of Twitter when everybody has like these crazy tweets where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they tweeted that.
Affleck's still pretty candid.
Oh my God, remember the Good Will Hunting Armageddon one?
Armageddon one is just like the Good Will Hunting hysterical. One too. Yeah.
They just didn't know. They didn't really realize that these were going to exist.
He spends all of the Armageddon one just like busting Michael Bay's balls. He's just like, it's amazing.
But nobody knew YouTube was coming. Yeah. Nobody knew there was going to be a way to just screenshot, grab clips from things. And so we'll never have, that era's gone.
All the podcasts.
What?
Well, I think that people are like becoming like, Marin is like essentially like the vehicle for that. But like, yeah, you're right. I don't think anybody will ever do something where they're like, no one's ever going to listen to this.
But he's so amusingly pugnacious and like smart alecky on the commentary, you're almost, you get like that media trained out of you. If you're a filmmaker or an actor or an athlete,
just
or
will
anything,
never have, like Olivia Wilde will never have her version of that for the terrible Harry Styles movie.
No, it's a really fun time with that, and a lot of directors were doing them in that way at that time, and it's just not that common anymore.
I have another Would Sage. I have a couple more Would Sage the Worst. Amber Waves. Are we sure she was a nice person?
I mean, she was objectively a sweet person to Dirk.
Was she?
I think she was an addict. I mean, I think she was a real, like a full-blown addict.
There's also like,
is it possible she was a horrible person?
Compared to the Colonel?
The Colonel's a 10. Is Amber like an 8?
I think Amber's I don't know. What in the world of Boogie Nights?
I think she was a selfish addict who was the right person to be the caretaker of a lot of kids in that house.
I'll put it this way.
Was she a caretaker? She
You
got
could take
everybody hooked on drugs,
but
including Dirk.
You could take a step back.
Terrible
and say,
mother.
Jack, Colonel, Amber, all the people in relative positions of power or like age are fucking predators. And even in the first scene,
That's true.
when Roller Girl
Now
rolls
we're
up to
talking
the
CR.
when Roller Girl goes up to the table to be like, I gotta pee. Amber's like, did you call that girl? Call her because you're gonna forget, and then it's gonna be the weekend. It's like she's probably like, call this girl and get her into porn. You know, like they're scouting young people.
Well, and then Jack.
There's even like, is Eddie really like what age he says he is? Like, I mean, yeah.
Was Roller Girl like a prostitute? Because Jack's like, hey, can you go blow this guy in the whatever?
I think you could make, there's a lot of connectivity to that idea of prostitution and the porn industry at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well,
what these people were paid.
and still. I don't think Amber Waves was a great person, but a hell of a director.
Okay. Yeah.
Really thought. Was she the first great documentary director, or was it Barbara Koppel? I don't.
Yeah, it's
it's
Fred
one of
Frederick
those-
legit
Weissman,
question.
Yeah.
You think Barbara Koppel's listening to this pod right now? I mean, like, what the fuck?
Who's Amber Waves? This is my big What's Age the Worst. It really makes me sad that Burt Reynolds didn't like this movie, didn't like the experience, didn't appreciate it, and was like still pissy about it 8-9 years later. 10, even in like 2014, he was like shitting on PTA. PTA just bugged him. He's such as aggro man's man. I think he just saw PTA as this little skinny know-it-all filmmaker he just didn't like him.
Yeah, he was
Could you
wrong.
think of two more different people?
No.
Like this guy who's like, I was in Smokey and the Bandit, and this dude who's like a post Gen X, like indie sense. Like, yeah.
They did not get along when they were filming. Reynolds fired his agent after he saw a rough cut. PTA, undaunted, loved working with Reynolds, offered him a Magnolia part. Reynolds said, fuck off. Did Driven instead.
He's very magnanimous to this day about Burt Reynolds.
Do you think he offered him the Robards part?
I think he did.
If he did, that would have been a mistake. Because Reynolds can't do what Robards can do.
Philip Baker Hall said, everyone had to kind of walk carefully around Burt because he seemed ready to explode. Macy said, we were in one of the scenes, the bedroom, and I made some crack about Smokey and the Bandit. It's the kind of humor that's gotten me in trouble before where I'm basically just insulting people. The idea being everyone will laugh, you'll realize my insult is hyperbole, wooey. I thought he was going to come across the bed and knock my teeth out. This is Bill Macy. Thomas Jane said, me and Burt Reynolds got into it somehow. We started this shoving match. Burt was cool enough to apologize. He bought me a bottle of champagne the next day, sitting in my trailer. Said, I'm sorry. Burt Reynolds just seemed like a huge fucking prick. I don't know if that helped the movie, but it seems like it did.
Well, it's weird because it's not that
does.
energy. Jack's like this.
Jack's like the opposite.
Incredibly tender guy.
Well, Burt was a famous, explosive, like he had
Massive
some
temper.
issues. Yeah, he had some temper.
It's
stuff.
interesting to think of Philip Baker Hall being intimidated by him, right? It's like, that's a guy who's really been around the block by this point. He's been on a lot of sets. He's been
fucking
around a
sitting
lot of
in a room
actors.
with Farina.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And still he's like, whoa, Burt was scary.
What else do you got for What's Age the Worst?
Living next to Jack. You imagine? Just being,
You think
like,
there's a lot of movement?
you have like a pool maintenance company. You got a nice house in the valley. Jack Horner moves in next door. Nina Hartley's getting fucked in the driveway, and a guy kills himself.
And that's Tuesday.
Well, all the way up until the guy kills himself, maybe he was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're like, holy shit, you know, like this is what a
Amber
night
Reeves
out.
is over there.
We could just walk over and walk back because like 18 fucking cars pouring out of the driveway.
You know, it's funny.
a great
Chris
point.
and I went to dinner. I don't even know if you remember this. Chris and I went to dinner a few years ago, and we were in the parking lot. And we were pulling out, and as we were pulling out, there was a woman standing on the patio in the doorway of the restaurant smoking a cigarette, and I clocked her immediately. It was a porn star. It was a porn star who I recognized, and I was like,
"It's big of you to admit that."
And I was like, "Do you remember this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What a town!" That was my reaction. I was like, "What a cool place to live." This is where Laurel Canyon. It was Pache. It was Pache in Laurel Canyon. But I was like, "That's fucking funny. That's so cool that's a human that lives." And maybe the neighbors felt the same way.
Yeah, maybe.
I have a package for Jack Horner. No, that's next door, actually. You better bring that one over there. I don't want it.
The only other thing that I thought aged the worst, it's really more what aged the funniest, but it, just in our hygiene conscious era, after Dirk's first scene, everybody shakes his hand immediately.
I thought the same. You know what he does? Actually, there's another version of that is so good. When Eddie and Jack meet for the first time, and he does the 5 or 10 thing, he's like, "I've done it twice already tonight," and then 10 seconds later, he's like, "Jack Horner," and he extends his hand.
Every fucking Macy and Ricky J all walk over, shake his hand.
Yeah.
John Reilly sits down right in front of him and says, "You're a fuck machine."
Fuck like a champ. Any what's age worse for you? Or did we cover him?
I think it's pretty sensitive about like what this culture was actually.
Yeah.
It's not one of those movies where you're like, "Oh, this is kind of messy the way they did it back then in the 90s. Like it's because it's a period piece. It has some hindsight already on how things were being operated.
Ron Burgundy Flute Award for best time for a pee break. I'm going with Buck tries to get a bank loan. We don't get to see how Becky Barnett's arc ended, but I have to watch Buck negotiate a bank loan for 3 minutes.
Last night I got up and had some pretzels and hummus during the entire Dirk gets his ass kicked and Roller Girl in their limo.
We've just seen it so many times.
Yeah.
You don't.
That's the one that I don't need to rewatch, but I do think that the Buck thing pays off though, because it makes the donut shop heist more meaningful. He needs money. He needs money.
If you want to spend the rest of your life thinking Becky Barnett was happy in Bakersfield with Jerome, that's what we sacrifice so we could watch.
It is.
Watch Buck negotiate a bank loan.
Have we even said Nicole Ari Parker yet?
No, I have her coming up.
Okay.
Best quote.
Oy.
I narrowed it to 3.
Did you skip? Was there a better title for this movie?
It's coming. Best quote. Well, thank you, Eddie. It's a real film, Jack, or "Oh, you think so, Doctor?" It was my final 3.
It's "Oh, you think so, Doctor."
"Oh, you think so, Doctor" is the most elite quote I think we've ever done in any movie.
I've said it probably 1,000 times in my life.
So funny. Great stuff. A Book About Metals Award for belatedly best quote or exchange. I mentioned she's the best. She's a wonderful mother. In the limo, I don't know what, this always used to crack up House and I when the limo scene starts going wrong and Jack Horner goes, "Come on, be a little bit more respectful. This is Roller Girl." It's just funny for some reason. These shoes are cool. Are they lizard? No, they're Italian.
I had that one.
Todd Parker going, "I'd like to introduce you to my lap." It's always funny. I think maybe she did too much coke. "Oh, you think so, Doctor?" And then the Catch-22. Catch-22, gentlemen. Think about it. You know what I'm thinking about, man? I'm thinking about kicking some ass. That's anything else?
Start down low with a 350 cube, 3 1/4 horsepower, 4-speed, 410 gears, 10 coats of competition orange, hand rub lacquer with a Hue plane manifold, full fucking race cams. Woo!
You should have worn the Thomas Jane mustache and the jacket.
Yeah.
I think he could have pulled it off.
If he had done Todd and I had done Scotty, I think we would have really been a great birthday present for you.
I wish I could get that mustache going.
What do you got for the Stephen A. Smith Hottest Take a Word?
Oh, God.
Are we sure Dirk's dick was big enough?
So, this is an interesting question.
That's my take.
Interesting question. They initially, in the research, they did a longer 12-inch version, but they just thought he looked like a circus freak.
Because Wahlberg is not tall.
Right. John Holmes is 6'4". Mark Wahlberg's 5'7".
They said it was 7 inches, which I guess flaccid. And they were probably trying to figure out how it compared to Holmes. Because Holmes is that's so, I guess it
gifted,
did.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was thick enough. I would have gone thicker.
That was
See that? Now
part
it's
of my
hour
question.
4 of the pod.
Yeah.
Now we're getting...
Was there enough girth On
the Holmes
Dirks
thing, the key
Diggler.
with Holmes was the girth. It was just
That was a
you know,
key?
Well, I mean, I guess the secondary.
so it was length
You're like
and girth.
KOC breaking down Wembenyama right now.
Can't see do this right now on TikTok. No, it was. I think that wasn't thick enough. That would have been my note.
The secondary take is, do you ever need to see it?
Yes, it's so. It was
Yeah,
so
you
funny
have to.
and hilarious in the theater the first time.
You have to.
No regrets.
The whole movie is about it.
What do you
If
have
you
for hottest take? Yeah,
I
we're
need
ignoring
to know
that
an
take.
answer to my question
What?
about the size of Dirk Diggler's
No, we
penis.
just agreed proportionally. Yeah.
It was the right size.
I would have gone
Okay.
like 2 inches longer and thicker.
See, you didn't agree.
I don't think it didn't occur to me.
It was definitely big,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like the way everyone reacted the first time they saw it. It didn't match up.
Did you think it was real?
No.
Did you?
No.
Do you think that Mark Wahlberg likes that people think it's real or doesn't like it?
Well, in the research, I can just do it now. He had to put his own dick in the prosthetic,
And
which
he
I
would
thought
like
was
walk
amazing.
around
And
with
he
the
walk
prosthetic.
around with
Yeah.
it. Sounds
That sounds bad.
crazy. What do you have for hottest take?
That was
I just said, was it big enough?
Well, what did you have?
I don't really have one.
Okay. I 80% believe this. I think Wahlberg should have won the 97 Best Actor over Nicholson.
Okay.
I think it was a harder part. And I think he was great in it.
Oh, you know what? I do
If I
have,
had to redo that, I would do it. I would redo that and give it to Wahlberg.
Can I just ask you guys a question? Craig and I were talking about this before we recorded. This is like a SAS half-baked take. This movie isn't a movie without Goodfellas, though, right? Like it's like, is it so basically West Coast Goodfellas? And even though I know, like,
Did Goodfellas walk so Boogie Nights could run?
PTA has been like, I know everybody thinks it's Scorsese, but it's also Jonathan Demme, and it's this, and it's like, I get it, but it's also Goodfellas.
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's Goodfellas with Robert Altman sprinkled in pretty heavily, it feels like to me.
I mean, it's two guys reflecting on stuff they saw when they were kids, right? Like
Sure.
that's really what that's ultimately.
there's part, and I think this one is much more about family, whereas Goodfellas is a lot more about like ambition and capitalism and stuff with other things. Yeah,
I have
But
one
this
more.
movie has that, and
Yeah.
Goodfellas has the other thing. You know,
I have
Vice.
another hottest take that I almost hesitate to do, but if it got announced that PTI was
PTA. You said PTA like
PTI.
3 times. It's fucking
PTA.
amazing.
PTA. I'm just old. PTA.
I like the idea of
We're also in
Mike and Tony
3
in this
hours.
movie.
I know.
If PTI did Boogie Nights, that's my hottest take. No, if it got announced PTA was redoing Boogie Nights
Your boy, the Colonel.
as an 8-episode Apple series,
Mhm.
I think my first reaction would be like sheer delight and excitement. And then I would talk myself out of it. But the first 5 seconds, I'd be fired up.
I've got a whole list of recasting couch for 2022.
Okay, great. We'll keep moving then. Casting what ifs.
Maybe the greatest casting what ifs we've ever had.
We discussed it with him. Maybe we should just play that clip. We asked him, Leo or Mark Wahlberg, what happened? So we'll play that clip.
This is the movie I have thought about the most with what if it was not just one person, but multiple people.
I think it worked out the best. I really do. I genuinely believe Leo in Titanic was the perfect, right, correct thing. And Wahlberg in this movie is the perfect, right, correct thing.
Chris's point was right on, which is especially in those emotional moments, those high tension moments, you just wouldn't have bought it as much with Leo.
I would have bought it too much almost.
It's just a different movie.
But you wouldn't have thought that
it's an awesome movie that I don't know if I would have loved quite as much.
That like loser, dumb guy quality that Wahlberg imparts in the character, Leo is like incapable of.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix was also considered, but his brother just died, and I think he ended up, maybe he did To Die For. I don't remember if that was the same year, but
I think that's 95, I think.
Something, they never really went after him, but I thought that was mildly interesting.
It is.
And is all the like Affleck, Hawk, Bale, Damon stuff, is that just like everybody was considered for those things?
I think it was Leo and then it was Wahlberg.
Joaquin's so interesting because you could tell how much PTA loves him and how he's used him so well in his
I wonder
other
if he was ready as an actor yet.
He was
pretty young
you
at
guys
that
even
point.
talked about on Parenthood, like he was good or young.
No, but I'm saying ready as a believable for the older Dirk Diggler parts. He would have been
maybe
pretty
I don't
young
know.
at that point. Wahlberg said when they were trying to get him to do it, there was such great talent attached to it. Sean Penn to the Alfred Molina role. Robert De Niro was in talks at one point. In all the research, they said the following people definitely declined Jack Horner: Sidney Pollack, Harvey Keitel, Bill Murray, Albert Brooks, and Warren Beatty.
And that Warren Beatty was several weeks of conversations about it.
Yeah, and PTA said, or PTI and PTA both said that I started to figure out that Warren really wanted to play Dirk Diggler. And I said, you don't really want to play Jack Horner. You want to be the kid in this movie. And he said, yeah.
I love that.
So
this would have been an amazing 1971 Warren Beatty part.
But it also would have been, did Warren Beatty wouldn't this be an amazing cap on his career essentially?
He would have been really good. It would have been different because Warren Beatty is not warm. He's smart and he's
there's a better he's not as like pull you in like Jack.
When he accepts his apology and he hugs him at the end, has Warren Beatty ever done something like that in a movie? I mean, that's just not the kind of actor he is. But what I want is a completed transcript and all the audio files of every phone conversation that PTA and Warren Beatty had, because those are two guys who love to talk about sex.
I thought you were going to say movies.
They do like to talk about movies, and I'm sure a lot of their conversation was movies, but like there are famous there all this stuff in the Warren Beatty biography about these long conversations that Beatty and Nicholson or Beatty and Robert Towne would have, 6-7 hour long conversations about pursuing women that are depraved and bizarre.
Yeah.
And Paul Thomas Anderson coming in his wake and making a movie that only exists not just because of Goodfellas, but because of, honestly, all the amazing stuff that Warren Beatty did in the 60s and 70s as an actor and filmmaker. So you've got all this reverence, plus that tinge of perversion, like Beatty had a little
Jack
bit of
Horner
that.
never has sex with anyone in this movie, and I'm sure that bothered Beatty. Beatty would have been like, hey, I wrote a scene where he has sex with Roller Girl. I think that needs to be in there. I'm glad it worked out the way it did, but I really would have been fascinated by Warren Beatty's Jack Horner.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's a different movie, but I'm not against it. We have more casting what ifs. Sam Jackson turned down Buck.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Hard 8.
He would have crushed it. He would have brought a different energy to the part, and he would have crushed it. This is also him when he was everything he was in. You were like, best actor on screen. We just rewatched Pulp Fiction recently, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is the best performance I've ever seen in a movie. Full stop.
I almost wonder what happens to the Buck character if it's Sam Jackson. Because probably 3-4, think about what Hoffman did with Scotty J.
Sam Jackson has a different energy than Don Cheadle.
Yeah, this is not a knock on Cheadle. Cheadle's playing it a certain way.
He's playing him as a nice guy.
Sam's going to hog some scenery a couple times with Buck.
He's like, I'm a sweet guy who's like trying to figure out my look and who I am.
Sam's like, what? I thought of another outfit change for Buck. What if he did this?
And isn't Sam's energy more believable as a porn actor?
I mean, you would argue, yeah.
I would love to see it. It makes the movie a little bit more dangerous.
He would have been the only person who was in Goodfellas and Boogie Nights.
Yes. And Pulp Fiction. That would have been the trilogy. I mean, that would have been pretty good.
Goodfellas, Pulp Fiction, and Boogie Nights. We would have to digitally put him in a Shawshank, and then that would have been good.
The king of the rewatchables then.
Paul Thomas Anderson really wanted Melora Walters. The studio wanted a bigger name. He offered the role to Patricia Arquette, knowing she would decline.
For Jesse.
And he'd be like, oh, I guess I have to settle for this person.
She would have been great too.
Patricia Arquette is a pretty good one. I have a better option though. He did not consider Heather Graham for Roller Girl because she'd never done nudity. But her agent asked if she could read for the part. She crushed it. She won. Drew Barrymore was up for the role. That's a really interesting one because that's Drew Barrymore coming out of Mad Love. That where she's still young. She's not rom-com Drew Barrymore yet.
Pre-Charlie's Angels.
Yeah. Probably getting a little too famous, but I think she would have been really good as Roller Girl.
Scream is 96, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1 year after that.
Yeah. The casting director said, we put Tatum O'Neal, this is a quote, Christine Sheeks. We put Tatum O'Neal on tape for Roller Girl. She gave a terrific audition. I think she may have done something really brave with Paul. That tape was top secret. You know what I mean? I actually don't know what you mean, Christine. Can you give me 2 more sentences? What do you mean?
What do you think that means?
I would never dream to comment.
Tatum O'Neal was too old for Roller Girl, just for record. John Turturro turned
for the record,
down...
you're saying that? Or in
I think she was
history?
too old.
Yeah.
She would have been in her early 30s.
Yeah.
John Turturro turned down the offered Molina part.
Yeah.
He could have done it. He definitely could have done it.
I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Yep.
Nina Hartley got called in because Paul, quote, Paul had been a fan of mine when he was younger. I don't know who Paul wasn't a fan of, but I think the list was long. The man who Don Cheadle was talking to in the stereo store was Michael Stein, who played Dirk Diggler in the short film. We mentioned that before, but that's a little connective tissue. And then Downey's dad is the guy who wouldn't give them the tapes.
I can't remember whether
there's some Nicholson stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember if this is in the oral history or if it was just in other research, but Marissa Tomei as Amber Waves.
Ooh.
Really?
That's very exciting.
I didn't catch that one.
That's very exciting.
Who else, if both of those are out, who would, I mean, now you start moving into like
Rebecca De Mornay.
That's pretty good. That would have been good. I don't know if she's motherly enough, but she's closer to Roller Girl at that point.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just trying to think of other actresses from them.
I mean, like a mid-30s actress, 33, 34 years old in 1997.
Glenn Close?
It's a little too old at that point.
It worked out great. I'm so glad it was Julianne Moore. Okay, we are moving to the Ruffalo Hannah Rubinek Partridge Overacting
I think this has
Award.
to go to Julianne Moore because she's already in the title of the award.
So many things.
Molina?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give this award to like when half the cast is out of their minds on coke or meth.
Johnny Doe?
That's right.
Oh yeah! He's doing that whole thing in the port scene. Roller Girls Limo Attack. I have that written down. But the winner is the donut shop robber. I don't know what's going on with that guy. He comes in hot.
Yeah.
Like,
that guy, not in Magnolia.
Yeah. You know, we never saw that guy.
That guy might have been on meth, though.
That guy did not go on to have a big career. I have a new award.
Oh, okay. Good thing we need to extend this one a little bit.
Let's do Best That Guy award. It was Robert Ridgely because I never knew his name, but it's not anymore. I think it's the guy in the church parking lot.
Oh, what's that guy's name?
I don't know what that guy's name is, and I didn't look it up. I've seen that guy many times, and I'm always like, oh, the guy from the church parking lot.
He participated in the oral history.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
Well, the guy who shoots the robber in the donut shop is that guy.
Yes, he is.
I was going to throw this one to John Doe, lead singer.
Johnny Doe's another.
For X, but also his performance rivals Dwight Yoakam's in Wedding Crashers in the musicians participating in custody or divorce mediation scenes.
Yeah. I didn't think that guy was very good.
John Doe?
No, the guy, the Julianne Moore's ex-husband.
John Doe. So John Doe, the lead singer of the band X, is named John Doe, and then the character is named Johnny Doe, which is kind of the in-joke of the movie.
Yeah.
But he's not. He has acted in movies. He's in some Wim Wenders movies and stuff,
fine.
but
that would have been a good Buscemi
He's
role.
in Roadhouse.
He's in Roadhouse, that's right.
I would have gone Buscemi. I have a new category because the Deion Waiters Award, I didn't want to clutter. And I was thinking there's got to be some category between Deion Waiters, but then for a movie like this where they're not the star of the movie, but they're underneath. The Andre Iguodala Award. Andre Iguodala, not one of the three main warriors in 2015, right? But brought specific skills to the table.
Uh-huh.
And was good enough that he actually won Finals MVP in the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
But yet was kind of a glorified role player star, but not like you wouldn't put him on the poster. So our nominees for the first and probably only Andre Iguodala Award are Roller Girl, Scotty J, Becky Barnett, Todd Parker, Buck, and Maurice.
Isn't it Reed?
Reed's one of the stars.
The three stars are Mark Wahlberg, Julianne Moore, and Burt Reynolds.
I feel like Reilly's one of the leads, though.
Okay, so outside of the four, and you don't have. Did you see the Colonel?
Colonel's in the next category.
Okay,
he's only in 3 scenes.
Colonel, Sixth Man of the Year. You're talking about the Finals MVP.
I'm saying somebody who is a starter, who wasn't one of the max guys on the team.
Read the nominees again.
Roller Girl, Scotty J, Becky Barnett, Todd Parker, Buck, or Maurice.
Not Little Bill?
Oh, I guess Little Bill's in there too.
I think it's probably Little Bill.
Little Bill should be in there.
I think I agree with Sean. It's either Little Bill. I really love Becky, but
I do too. But I want to talk about her, but maybe not for this category, right?
Oh, I think Becky wins.
You do?
I was going to do a whole Becky case.
Good.
So this is
Well,
you're
why?
creating a category basically for Becky.
No, I think it's for everybody because you could give it to, Scotty J, you could give it all of them, but I love Becky Barnett. I think she's so good in this movie.
She is.
And she just gets lost. She doesn't have like awesome lines except for the chocolate love. But the way she's always kind of pissed off in every scene, but not too pissed off. Got a little attitude. Like she just feels the most authentic of anyone who would have actually been a porn actor in late 70s, early 80s. And I actually like that she had a happy ending because I just like the character.
I like her a lot. We were talking before we recorded about how Nicole Ari Parker never really totally had the career that maybe we would have wanted for her. Like never got the parts because she's really funny in this movie. She's really like affecting. She was like beautiful.
Mom in the Remember the Titans.
Yeah,
I wanted to see her like, couldn't she have led, some awesome movie in the late 90s or
she did. She works consistently, right? She was in Soul Food and then in the Soul Food TV show. Like she's been in a lot of serious television over the years.
I think this is a different conversation if that deleted scene is in there. It's just like a completely different part of that character.
I don't feel like the parts were good enough and people didn't think about black actors had to be in black parts, right? They just didn't.
But it's a real like Halle Berry market corrected her thing. Like they're probably up for the same role like 100 times out of 100.
That's where I was going to go with the Becky Barnett thing. This is a Halle Berry part, right? I don't think Halle Berry would have been better as Becky Barnett. The Dion Waiters Award. First of all, congratulations to all the nominees.
Yeah, seriously.
We have the Colonel. We have Floyd Gondali. We have Buck's stereo store manager. We have Alfred Molina as Rahad. We have the Colonel's cell roommate. We have Dirk's mom.
Colonel's cell roommate?
Yeah. Dirk's mom. Shut up, Colonel. Dirk's mom and Roller Girl's classmate. And really, this comes down to the Colonel versus Floyd Gondali, which is...
If the Colonel's in this category, it's the Colonel. But Floyd,
this is
by
Jordan
letter
versus
of the
LeBron.
law, Floyd is more of a Dion Waiters performance.
So maybe we move the Colonel to Andre Iguodala so he can win Andre Iguodala?
But then we take it away from Nicole Ari Parker.
Yeah. Should the Colonel just have his own award? The Colonel Award?
The graphic from the Cavs finals game where it's like LeBron 44 points, 12 boards, 13 rebounds, Kyrie 42 points, 9 boards, 13 assists. That's the two of them in this movie. Is the Floyd and the Colonel is like we couldn't have done it without them.
Let's make them
They are co-leads.
You know what? Co-winners.
Co-waiters.
Co-winners.
Yeah.
Co-waiters. Yeah.
Incredible. Recasting couch. If Drew Barrymore is Jesse St. Vincent, is this a better movie?
Yes.
I think yes. That would have been my pick.
Weird about this. You think the Jesse St. Vincent part is like the hinge of the movie?
No, I'm just trying to make the movie better, and I love how it's casted.
She's a better and more interesting screen presence than Melora Walters, but I really like Melora Walters.
Okay.
I really like her too.
What do you have for recasting couch?
Well, is this recasting with actors from that era or now?
You can do whatever you want. It's your call.
The number one thing that I just haunted me after I rewatched the 5 or 10 scene is Josh Brolin as Jack Horner.
Oh, if it was now.
Yeah, if it was now.
Ah.
I have a whole list of everybody if it was now. I
Do
think
Clooney would be the default, and I don't think it's the right choice. And I don't think Pitt's the right choice either.
Here are the 3 that I think are interesting.
Yeah.
Costner.
Costner is Jack Horner. Wow.
Second.
Is he wearing the fucking hat?
He's doing the whole thing.
Toupee?
Yeah.
Does he do his like I almost cried face?
I mean, he has to.
The first time, Dirk.
Sean, this is great. You've already won the category. Okay. Keep going.
Second choice would be Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I want to. He's bringing the Mel Gibson baggage.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Third choice, twist, Bryan Cranston.
I think you were going to say Brian Curtis for a second. I got super excited. Brian Curtis would be amazing.
I would watch that. I don't know if he's best for the part. Cranston's such a ham. And he's, as we know from his relationship with Jesse Pinkman, he's good at, extending to the previous the next generation. So that's Jack Horner. Amber Waves, no brainer. Jessica Chastain. This is the easiest pick of all time.
He just wants to see
Jessica
Chastain.
Let him cook.
Yeah, you're right. She's too old, though.
What about it?
She's like almost my age.
What?
Amber Waves has to be like...
Do you think that Jessica Chastain is almost your age?
She's like 40.
Isn't she like 45?
Even if she was, she looks as good now as Julianne Moore looked then.
How old is she?
28.
She's 45, but...
Yeah.
Works for me.
Oh, you just love Chastain.
Dirk, You got to.
No, I want to hear it.
It would be either Harry Styles or Chalamet.
No, it's like there's something sitting right in front of us, guys.
What is it?
You just run back the Dirk and Reed is Teller and Powell.
They're too old and too cool.
Too old.
Too old and too cool. It would be funny, but like, isn't Miles Teller like 30?
What about Teller and Powell as Reed and Dirk, and then Tom Cruise as Jack Horner?
I think 10.
I want that.
I think 10 years ago, Zac Efron would have been an awesome Dirk Diggler. I think he could have done it.
Yeah, he could have done that. And he has that same like, is he smart or not thing.
Chalamet is not. I don't think he has the physicality.
Maybe not. But those two guys are like a representation of the way that like male sex symbols have changed. Those guys are fucking desired. And they don't look like Wahlberg.
But we're setting this in 1979, though.
Your girl, Sydney Sweeney, is obviously Roller Girl.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the easiest job in America.
Yeah.
Just Chris should call her right now. See if she wants to do it.
Who is Roller Girl is a good snapshot for who's got the juice for that category, just in general.
I have two more for that. I think a twist would be Florence Pugh.
I like that Sydney Sweeney is my girl, by the way. This is great. I'm
not?
the big winner of the podcast.
It's Bill's girl.
Yeah.
My girl, Sydney Sweeney. This is great news.
What about Anya Taylor-Joy?
As Roller Girl?
Yeah.
I think part of the Roller
She doesn't
Girl
seem as like,
No, it's
I
Sydney
can't
Sweeney.
believe that she would be from the Valley.
Sydney Sweeney's Roller Girl. That's amazing.
Okay. Jonathan Majors is Buck.
Sure.
Jesse Plemons is Scotty J.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, that's pretty. Jesse Plemons and Scotty J is good.
What about Kirsten Dunst as Amber?
That would be good.
I think
She's also
too
like
old.
40.
Yeah,
but,
she's too old.
But I think that would be good too.
It's somebody who's in the 32 to 33 range whose career really started going about. Is Scarlett too old? She 40?
She's probably about 42. Right?
I don't mean to age it, but I'm just like, I feel like Amber's in her late 20s at the start
I
of this
thought Amber
movie.
was in her early 30s when the movie started.
But Scarlett Johansson, Kirsten Dunst, and Jessica Chastain, even if they're all in their 40s, they look
good.
younger. They look a lot younger than that.
Chastain could probably pull it off.
Wouldn't you watch that remake?
Yeah.
Even if it was terrible?
Yeah. If it was an 8-hour Apple TV Plus series.
Headlined by Costner?
Can I throw one more out for Amber? I got the most excited for this one. Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Uglying it up a tiny bit. Maybe like dark hair or red hair or some sort of weird hair color.
5 short years ago, she would have been Roller Girl.
Yeah. I think she's a really interesting actress.
You know what would have been another good Jack? Downey Jr.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
That
would have been awesome.
So I had Downey Jr. in the Jack category now, but also could Downey Jr. have been Dirk Diggler in 1996? Because you know how close PTA was with his dad.
I don't know if that would have been good for Robert Downey Jr.
He's out though. He's out.
Coke.
He's clean though at this point. I think by mid 90s. But I think he would have been a really
Isn't
good
he
Dirk.
in like U.S. Marshals and then still kind of going off? Yeah.
You think it's a dark time?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Would he have been a better Reed?
Maybe. He could have done the comedy stuff though. He would have owned that. Okay, I have a things you may not have noticed from Boogie Nights that I've noticed from the last 25 years. First of all, Jack sees Dirk for the first time. There's stars hanging in the background just from the bar. That has to be intentional.
That's great.
When they leave Hot Tracks for the first night, Little Bill gets the parking ticket. You really got to look for it. But you see the car with the parking ticket. Little Bill walks by them, good night, and then he goes, "Geez," and he grabs the ticket. The second annual Porn Awards, Dirk wins, and he walks by Scotty, and Scotty goes for the double high five, and Dirk walks right by him, and he kind of high fives himself. It's really funny. The Colonel laughing his ass off during Floyd Gondoli's big monologue is one of the funniest parts of this movie. It's the same limo driver for the Colonel at the beginning and Jack Horner in the limo scene.
Yeah, he's like picked up that guy's option.
He's wearing the same suit. Yep. Like he's out of a time machine. The combo for the donut shop safe is 69, 69, 69.
It's also the login for CR's laptop.
When the Colonel's cellmate hits him, the glasses land in the prison cell toilet.
Okay.
I thought that was cool. And then, I mean, most people notice this, but they walk by the Little Bill painting at the end, and that's right where he shot himself when he walks by that hallway.
Is this the closest you've ever watched a movie?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
What compelled you to do that? To be like, it's not just that it's fun to revisit and have on in the background, but that
when did you realize like, oh my God, every time I watch this, I notice something different?
I don't know. It's been 25 years of it. I think it was when it was on the illegal cable box all the time.
And you would just have it on every day?
And I would just notice something different every time. Half-Ass Internet Research. They flew out to some place in the Midwest called Hullabaloo. And they had a 35,000 square foot warehouse of unused clothes from different periods. And that's where they got all the clothes for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cut scene apparently with Ron Jeremy in a prison cell with Ridgely. I don't know. That's why this is half-assed. Not sure I believe that. The Burt Reynolds PTA stuff. This guy, John Lyons, who worked on the movie, he said, Burt, respect is extremely important to him. Like many actors, frail in terms of his ego. Paul didn't really understand that. He probably understands it much better now. Burt felt like he was a man of stature and this little whipshit kid wasn't doing that. And everyone seems to agree he either almost hit PTA or as he was about to hit him, somebody grabbed his arm. But he was definitely going to punch him. Is the thing that happened. Reynolds said after, personality-wise, we didn't fit. I think mostly because he was young and full of himself, as opposed to Burt, who's old and full of himself. Every shot we did, it was like the first time that shot had ever been done. And then he goes, I remember the first shot we did in Boogie Nights, where I drive the car to Grauman's Theater. Thought it was Grauman's Theater, which was funny. After that, he said, isn't that amazing? And I named 5 pictures that had the same kind of shot. It wasn't original. But if you have to steal from the best. Like, settle down, Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds just shouldn't never talked about this movie. John Lyons, the producer, also said, a lot of funky stuff happened in that West Covina house. A lot of stuff that was right on the line between the porn world and the real world was being recreated. It's the oral history of the oral history. There's a lot of talk about, so they cut out Little Bill blows away Nina Hartley and the guy. We never see them. They film
a whole
him blowing away, and they said it is like a Dirty Harry movie, basically. Yeah. And it's so violent that they ended up cutting it. But as they're filming all those, there was a lot of debate about whether she was actually just fucking
all the
this
stuff
guy.
About the screenings and people cheering when Little Bill does that, and then when he kills himself, everybody was like, oh God.
People seem to agree they did. It was another porn actor who was the guy she was having sex with in the scene, and people thought they were fucking. And then Nina Hartley said in oral history, we weren't fucking, I just had his dick between my legs. Which
that wouldn't fly in 2022.
Not even positive how that goes, but
how does it go?
She said we were not really having sex, but my partner was not, taped down. We hit it in the old-fashioned way between the tops of my thighs. So there you go.
You guys ever been taped down?
First penis sculpture was 12 inches. The penis they used ended up being 7. I mentioned the Jeff Lynne story. So the original oral painting of Dirk Diggler sold on eBay in 2001 for $500.
Did you say oral painting?
Oil painting.
Oh, oil painting.
I can barely speak. We're in hour 4. Oil painting. The oral painting.
Next on PTI, oral paintings.
It sold for $500 on eBay and then was resold in 2017 for $3,000. I would pay $10 right now. That sounds amazing.
Right now.
A Dirk Diggler oil painting done by Jesse St. Vincent?
You said oil painting?
$50,000. Oil painting. That time I said oil.
Okay. Do you like her painting style?
No, it's terrible.
It seems slightly more abstract than she intends.
Yep.
I think she thinks it's very representational, but
Chris, do you know why the song Boogie Nights was not actually played in this movie, even though it's a real song that's really good?
Could they not clear it?
It was by a band called Heatwave. Johnny Wilder Jr., a devout born-again Christian, was the lead singer. He's like, no fucking way you're playing.
Interesting.
Probably didn't say fucking. He's like, there's no way you're playing my song.
Can I give you my... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to just say, like, my favorite half-ass internet research comes from the oral history.
Yeah.
Is Robert Elswit. First of all, Robert Elswit, like, trying to explain to his wife that he was going to make this movie and her being like, sure. Like, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a great film.
Yeah, sounds good.
And then he said that he and PTA watched every existing porno that was ever shot on film.
I mean, research.
That's a lot of time.
That's like Bill prepping for this pod.
That's
He
right.
had to watch every 35 millimeter porno ever made.
Speaking of porn, Jamie Gillis's groundbreaking On the Prowl series, which started in 1989, was the thing that spurred on the limo scene in this
On the
movie.
Lookout is what Jack Horner calls it.
On the Lookout. Gillis said he was horrified when his work was parodied in Boogie Nights. He said that in 2000.
Horrified, huh?
Yeah. Jamie Gillis did some horrifying things. He said, "Oh my God, they're taking my little joy, my little treasure, and making it ugly, stupid, and violent. That's not what it was to me." Settle down, Jamie. That's all I have for half-assed, unless you guys have anything else.
We've covered everything else that I had.
Really fun deleted scenes. I have 2 that should have been kept. The 4th Adult Awards, and then the New Year's party. Actually, 3, I guess. The New Year's party. I like the Dirk and Jesse. And then we should just talk quickly about that Becky Barnett deleted scene. I would urge people, if you love this movie, to go watch on YouTube. It uses Fleetwood Mac's Tusk.
Mhm.
And he talks about in the commentary for it that he just always loved that song and thought it was so cinematic, and there's a marching band, and he couldn't wait to put it in the movie, and it really hurt his feelings to have to cut it.
And was that why he had to cut it?
He cut it because he just felt like it was taking him off
I really
the highway.
like the fact that that's in that scene she calls Dirk, and it kind of connects Dirk back to that world while he's in this Todd Scotty.
Not just the world, but he's the leader of the clan.
Yeah.
He has become the most important person in this family.
Yeah.
And that people are leaning on him.
Yeah.
And it shows you that in a really good way. I mean, the scene itself is amazing. It's really scary when Jerome knocks the door down.
Yeah.
It's terrifying when Becky gets her revenge on him. Everything that's going on with Dirk and Todd and all them. And then also later in the film, when they pull up to Rahad's house, we see that Dirk's car has been destroyed. And in
It's
fact,
not explained.
he's there to get money to repair his car. That's the whole impetus, effectively, for Dirk agreeing to go with Todd on this drug deal.
Yeah.
So it actually makes the movie deeper to me, and I don't really think it takes you that far afield if you just plug in this 3-minute
It's also
scene.
just once you're at 2 hours and 45 minutes,
What's the difference?
Kind of like this podcast. PTA said that we had a lot of porn, we had a lot of violence already. Was his justification, but it really hurt his feelings to cut it.
good to know he has a line.
The deleted for a reason includes, of the scenes we didn't mention yet, there's one with Buck giving Amber car stereo advice in the van.
So funny.
And there's just kind of more of everything, but you can find all that stuff online. Apex Mountain. Mark Wahlberg, no.
No.
Paul Thomas Anderson, no.
We sure?
As a filmmaker, for me personally, yes, but I would say no for him career-wise.
Here's
right?
what happened. We went out to dinner, the 3 of us, Jeff, and Koppelman and Levine. And Koppelman very pointedly said, "Sean, what's your ranking of PTA movies?" And I shared it, and you got really mad because I didn't have Boogie Nights 1.
Yep.
And you do.
I do.
So does that make it his Apex Mountain if it's your
No,
favorite?
because I don't think he fully had the juice until
There Will Be Blood.
Until There Would Be Blood. I think that coming out of that movie, then he can make anything he wants. I don't know if that was totally the case until then.
I agree. Where does it for you on your list?
It's 2.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 2 for me.
It's 2, and there was a time, I think, before, maybe the last year or so, where I was The Master was up there.
They probably switched places. They're just so different. I mean, The Master is so different from Boogie Nights.
Apex Mountain, imported Italian leather.
I mean, Ricardo Montalban talking about leather. It's pretty.
Hey, maybe that's it.
What about
Yeah.
David Preval's jacket on The Sopranos?
Oh, that's a good one.
Give you my jacket.
Donut shops?
No.
Has there ever been a better donut shop moment? I mean, what good
There
donut
must
shop
be.
moments
So
on
donut
there?
shops and cinema.
Yeah. I would say yes.
Okay.
Ridgely, yes.
Yep.
Nina Hartley, I don't know enough about the twists and turns of Nina's career, but I would say as a mainstream actress, yes. Phil Hoffman, background acting. Would you go here or Magnolia?
Here,
Here.
because
I
he's
would
just in
actually
that
go
one.
Magnolia.
He's in that one shot, Magnolia. But I
He's
don't know.
amazing in Magnolia. Burt Reynolds, no. Thomas Jane.
Not Hung.
House loved Hung. I never liked Hung.
First season was pretty good. Good premise.
I'm going to say 61 for Thomas Jane. Because
I
after he
knew
played
you
Mickey
would.
Mantle, I was like, this guy.
That's good.
He's an A+ lister.
Will you be watching Aaron Judge on Apple TV Plus tonight?
I will not.
Okay.
Heather Graham. I'm going to say Austin Powers 2.
This era, though. Sure.
Coming out Austin Powers 2, it's like this is going to be one of the biggest stars of this decade.
Is it crazy to be like, she was the sex symbol of my teenage years? I guess there was the like Anna Nicole Smith, Jenny McCarthy, like there was a wave of Carmen Electra and all them. But for actresses,
well, look who she's competing against. It's like Jennifer Love Hewitt, and
I mean, she was definitely the best actress of the bunch.
Yeah,
and it was often in the best movies.
Wes Covina,
Definitely.
Yeah, no.
Wes Covina's in My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, right?
I've never seen that show.
What was Julianne Moore's Apex Mountain? Because it's probably not Boogie Nights. She's had an unbelievable career. Or was it Boogie Nights?
The Hours? Did she win for The Hours?
No, she won for Still Alice.
Yeah.
Which is a makeup for not winning for the 3 other times she was nominated. Gosh, it's hard to say. I mean, maybe Far From Heaven, the Todd Haynes movie.
Yeah, that's good.
Because she's like, when that movie came out, people were like, wow, Julianne Moore might be the best living actress.
The case for Boogie Nights is coming out of this movie, she was all of a sudden could get any part she wanted. Yeah. So maybe.
What about
you got the touch? Would you go this or Transformers?
I think this for me.
Okay. What were you saying, Chris?
What about big beautiful cocks in mainstream movies? Seriously,
it's not real. This one isn't real.
Well, I didn't say they were real cocks.
There's a huge dick shot in the movie Bruno, the Sacha Baron Cohen movie.
Ricky Jay. Might be.
I like him a lot in House of Games.
Yeah, me too.
Movies about porn, yes. Luis Guzman, I wish Jacoby would come in here. He would say it was How to Make It in America.
It's also Out of Sight.
Yeah, Out of Sight, I would go over this for him.
I'm being completely serious. Does this movie have the best parties in movie history?
Incredible question.
Movie parties.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I can't think of like
Project X.
Yeah. But there's like a couple, like I'm sure I'm not thinking
amazing.
of it, but the parties in this movie are fucking incredible.
I'm with you.
But if you went to one of these parties, your life would be over.
That's true.
John C. Reilly?
Apex Mountain? No, Step Brothers.
Step Brothers.
Or Chicago.
William H. Macy, Don Cheadle, no. Yeah, Chicago got nominated for an Oscar.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, wow, he's also a song and dance man.
Or Jerry Buss.
I mean, that's the other thing too with Reilly is like Reilly is still crushing.
Yeah, still going. 2022. Side characters named Floyd. I have this over Floyd and True Romance, but it's close. They're in the finals.
I have Floyd True Romance. For this.
Over Floyd Gondali?
As a name or as a character? Floyd Gondali is in 2 scenes.
Floyd and True Romance is in 3
scenes.
That's true.
He just represents your essence.
I know.
Penn Brothers.
Is this Apex Mountain for
any
a member of the
I'm
Penn
surprised
family?
Sean Penn didn't play Rahat. He was up for that.
It's upsetting. He should have been in this movie, especially because Michael was in there.
It's funny how many times he's been rumored to be in a PTA movie. They're clearly friends, and he finally did it to play William Holden in Licorice
for like
Pizza.
10 minutes.
Yeah, what took so long? Bob Ridgely, 100% yes. The song Sister Christian and Jesse's Girl?
I mean, I
suspect
probably topping the
1983.
charts. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Jesse's Girl is probably when it was released and it went to
Sister
number
Christian,
1.
I think this movie's the
But
apex.
Jesse's
though,
Girl
because-
still like goes really hard on the radio.
Yeah.
Can anybody name another Night Ranger song?
No.
Okay, me neither.
Philip
Did Night
Baker
Ranger
Hall?
do Lose Your Love? Use Your Love?
That's the outfield.
That's the outfield.
Right?
Yeah, that's a huge Patriot song. That's played in like 3 minutes left of close games.
Lose Your Love is?
Do you guys have close games still?
You're loved by the outfield.
Oh, what's Lose Your Love?
I didn't like that joke.
Is that a
Chris.
different song?
Use your love
Yeah,
tonight.
the whole crowd sings it. It's great. Philip Baker Hall,
Is that
yes.
so that's like when Mac Jones has been immobilized?
No,
and they're
I don't
taking
know
him
if they're
off?
singing it as much these days. Reseda is a film location. This or Karate Kid.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Karate Kid.
Oh,
Reseda
wow.
just feels more important than
It's
Karate Kid.
either this or it's Tom Petty mentioning Reseda.
That's all I have
And
for
Free
Apex
Falling.
Mountain. I know it was a lot. So was this their Hall of Fame plaque movie? I'm just going to throw this for Wahlberg.
I'm going to say yes.
I think yes, too.
It's the best movie that's built around him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's his best performance.
What would you say his best performance
Well, I
is?
get such a kick out of him in The Departed.
I know, but it's not built around him, though.
What do you think about The Fighter?
No, it's not close to Boogie Nights.
But it's not close to as a movie. But
I still think of that as a Christian Bale movie, too.
Yeah.
Supporting character of the movie's built around.
All right,
Wahlberg.
so we'll disagree. Best racehorse
Uncharted?
name. I'm going to give you Dirk Diggler, Mr. Torpedo, Eddie Adams, Johnny Doe, Colonel James, or Spanish Pantalones.
So you're not going to have Brock Landers as your horse name?
I should have had that down.
Okay, first of all, the Colonel as your horse. Can you name a horse Dirk's Cock?
Big Beautiful Cock?
Yep. Or
Here comes Big Beautiful Cock.
Or what I would want is full fucking race cams.
That's good.
I like that.
My favorite,
I like
personal favorite is Spanish Pantalones.
That's good.
I would
that was the first one I
absolutely bet
wrote
on that
down.
one.
Yeah.
Was this the right title? It's Boogie Nights. We don't even need to do that one.
Yeah, I had like Amber, Are You My Mom?
I wrote Dirty Movie.
That's good.
Oh. All right, now it's time. We're picking nits. I can't wait. The distance between Torrance and Reseda is 33 miles. Eddie's taking the bus to fucking Reseda to work at a disco.
But we know why.
I know why, but it's 90 minutes round trip.
But he is waiting to be recognized in the valley because he has this dick.
Right.
So he's
That's
like,
the
how do I get in?
The unwritten part of the beginning of the movie is why is Eddie in the valley and why does Jack pick him out? And I think it's supposed to be like the word on the street is if you want to get in adult movies, you go there. Eddie knows who Jack is.
I get it.
I
get all the reasons. I just wanted to pick Torrance. Torrance is too far from Reseda.
I mean,
everybody has their
like
one
Baldwin
special
Hills.
thing, and his dream was to be a big star.
So
He
you
tells
would have had to be
Cheryl
from like Tarzana, right?
I actually like it.
Tarzana.
It shows you how ambitious Eddie is, and that he is destined to become Dirk.
Eddie charges $5 to look at his dick, but $10 for the jerk off.
Mhm.
Just terrible pricing. Like, how about
What do you charge?
$2 for a glimpse and like $20 if you want to see me jerk off. Like I just don't. It's only $5 more for a whole jerk off.
Guys, then you're working with a lot of singles, so it's like either give me a 5 or give me a 10. Not here's $2.
Go $5.20. I just don't see it. How is
The
that
whole
only
point
double
is
the
that
value?
He can just keep doing it, so it doesn't matter.
This is Jimmy Carter's America. Inflation and everything. Things are tough.
Who's not just paying the 10? It's only an extra $5. I get to see the jerk off. Oh man, here's 10.
It's all about value. It's just all about
The
value.
Moneyball move is the $10.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Amber comes home from the club after doing cocaine and smoking cigarettes and having drinks. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and she calls her ex-husband to see if her son's up.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
Well, she's just like, I'd like to say hi to my son.
It's like he's asleep. He's in the third grade, and he's 7.
Yeah.
Poor Andy. Andrew?
I have issues with the 4 people Floyd brought off the street as the stars of the future.
Mhm.
I think they could have tried a little harder. They all look like runaways.
Yeah, I think it's
Come on,
supposed to
Floyd.
be
These are the real people in the world?
Yeah, come on, Floyd.
the difference between porn being aspirational and porn being like desperate in the 70s and 80s. But that's just my read.
But
on
I
this.
always thought that it was the opposite. That like if you look at porn stars in the 70s, they look more like normal people. And then porn stars in the 80s start to seem more like these like freakish,
That's your point.
cosmetically altered.
What does Floyd say? He's like hot fuck action.
Hot fuck action to the max.
Yeah. This is a big one. How does the donut shop have that much money? The donut shop has like $10,000. There's $100 bills. Who's paying for 12 donuts?
Well,
with
maybe they
100?
just aren't doing drops every night. Maybe that's like a month of deposits. I don't know.
What's your donut of choice?
There was 20. There was enough. There was enough money for that he
Isn't
could
that
open
whole
a
scene almost like a dream though? Like I don't know. There's a part of it that almost has like that's why I think of it as like Magnolia, where it's like the frogs falling. It's
Bear
like
claw or apple fritter for you?
Also, 2 people shoot.
I've always been a fritter guy,
Yeah.
and you were a fritter guy, and I think I took that from you. I think I
Oh.
learned that from you.
Fritters are elite.
I am a fritter guy.
They're really good.
Do you like Boston creams? I suppose everybody
No.
wants to know.
I like fritters.
Fritters and cinnamon rolls. That's where I live.
Yeah,
Fritters for me. 2 people shoot 3 people. Just want to point that out in the donut
Shades
shop.
of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah. Another, I can't believe you just gloss over the donut shop. You guys are like, it's fine. It's $15,000 in 1979.
do we ever find out how much money he gets from it?
He has a whole bag of $100 bills. It's a fucking donut shop.
Maybe it had been a few weeks since
That's what
the
I'm
owner
saying.
came around to pick up. You
Yeah.
never know.
I mean, I guess you're right. The owner has a 69, 69, 69 combination of the safe.
Who knows? Maybe the owner is doing a little Todd Parker business on the side.
Oh, maybe he is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a cocaine business.
Oh.
There you go, CR.
Maybe Rahad actually owns the
I knew
the
if I
donut
kept
place.
nudging CR, he'd come up with an answer. Buck's Egyptian look was just fucking insane. Who would be in a porn movie looking like that in 1980 with the whatever that headdress thing was? Come on, Buck.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
That's Rick James, right?
He looks a little bit like, I was going to say Rick James.
Yeah.
Like he's clearly riffing on the street
Terrible.
Street songs. Yeah.
How many porn scenes could they have shot at Jack Horner's house before the audience got a little tired of the 4 locations of Jack Horner's house?
Well, I mean, if you're dressing it, if you give it like the Spanish hacienda look,
Did you learn Spanish from watching Spanish Pantalones?
I did. It's mostly a very specific Andalusian dialect, though. I have something just to say about Jack's house in general.
Yeah.
So I mentioned how miserable it would be to live next door. The night, is it the night of the New Year's party that the Colonel gets arrested? So there's just
no. It's before that.
Okay, but do the cops ever come to Jack's house after?
Oh no, it's after that.
But so the cops don't come to Jack's house when Little Bill kills himself.
Yeah, it crossed my mind. I'm sure that they do.
Because the whole thing the Colonel says is like, this girl ODs at my house, and then when they come, they find all this child pornography. So at Jack's house, when they get there, and everybody is out of their minds on cocaine anyway, and this guy's killed himself and killed his wife and her lover, they're just like, otherwise everything looks good here, sir. You can just keep going about your business.
Or
Jack flips on the Colonel.
No cops come.
Oh, they get rid of Little Bill's body and the body of Nina Hartley.
Oh my God. Well, that's pretty grim.
Well, do they get rid of the girl?
The Colonel
in the first
and
scene?
Floyd are there.
Well, the girl in the first scene they get rid of, but she's not dead. They drop her on the front of the hospital. That's the
That's right.
So
those are the people we're dealing with.
Okay, here's how I read into it. That the cops did have to come because there was a murder-suicide at the house on a New Year's Eve party. And sure, there's coke and a lot of illicit stuff going on at the house. But it's 1979 in the San Fernando Valley. Like, of course
Who's
there's
even
cocaine in the party. Like, it's not as if it would be the biggest scandal of all time.
No, but I'm just being like, Jack just is like drinking an orange juice.
But what did he do? Like, what is he culpable for in that case?
If there was a murder-suicide at your house, like
he's getting interviewed.
Yeah,
at least.
like I think that you'd be in headquarters all night.
Let's bring in Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul,
PTI, what do you think?
He definitely put that. He didn't put that much thought into it, I bet. Why is Johnny Doe such a fucking loser when he meets him? He's like, "You're Dirk Diggler." It's like, what's wrong with you? What did you have? Too much coffee?
I like it better when they're right before he gets into the fight with Jack, where he's like, "I'm an actor. Shut up." Such a terrible actor.
Why did Johnny Doe get invited to Becky's wedding?
You get the impression that the social circle is pretty small there.
I wouldn't have invited him.
I think Jack was trying to impress him as he's luring him.
What happened to Cosmo, the Chinese guy, during the drug shootout? During 99 Left Balloons?
It's a very good question.
That's a great question, Bill.
He's just hiding in the bedroom?
Yeah, if he's playing baseball.
This is my big one. This has bothered me forever. Dirk's broken down. He's a drug addict. He's got no money. He's hanging out in a church parking lot so he could like basically jerk off for like $10. He's doing gay porns at this point. And this is what happened to John Holmes. John Holmes, when he hit rock bottom, he moved over to the gay side, and he made probably like, I don't know, 10 to 12 films, which I found out about in the E! True Hollywood Story about John Holmes. I just think Dirk's moving over to the other side for money. He's still a big name. You assume he's like the biggest star of his era, or one of the biggest stars.
I think that the implication is like at this point he's not reliable enough to even show up like on set or whatever, right? Because he's partying with Todd.
I think that's a better scene than this church parking lot scene. It's him going to film.
I just saw the downfall as like being in a very compressed period of time. Like it's as much as like a month.
Oh.
And so he's having like the worst month ever, but it's not so long that he can't be redeemed with Jack.
Okay. Because it goes from like January 83 to March 83. So I think it's been like 2 months.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's
and
not
he's kind of like
crazy.
Changed from coke to meth.
Yeah, he's crashed his car. He does, and we didn't even say that the Rahad Jackson, the whole sequence is inspired by the Wonderland murders and like everything that happens there. And it's reasonable to assume that if something like that happened to you, that you'd snap out of it and you'd go back to where people take care of you.
Any other pick and nets?
No.
The Dirk never trying coke for the first 2 years of his porn career
Yeah,
thing
that's
is like bizarre.
Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Dana Trejo, Catherine Hahn, Steve Buscemi, Sam Jackson, J.T. Welsh, or Philip Baker Hall? Well,
you know what, Colonel? You're going away a long fucking time, big boy. You're going to jail a long fucking time. Get his ass out of here.
Oh, thanks for the help, Supercock.
There's also a motherfucking brick in this movie, for sure. They use quite a bit of cocaine.
Just one Oscar. Who gets it? PTA?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't wait for these. Probably unanswerable questions. I can't believe we're almost done. Was Jack gay, bisexual, asexual? What's going on with Jack? How's he getting his rocks off?
He's post-sexual.
Yeah. I think he, 1, has seen too much porn. 2, is older. And maybe the equipment doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't drink. Notice he asks for a 7-Up when he gets the hot tracks.
So he's a recovering impotent alcoholic?
Does he not make the cocktail for himself? That's a really...
I think he drinks.
It's not a rewatchable scene, but I do love when they get home the first night from the club, and he comes in and he puts on the Chico Hamilton Quartet, this kind of soft jazz, and he's in his house by himself. Amber's gone into the bedroom to call Andy, and he makes himself a drink, and we see the insert shots of him dropping the ice cubes into the glass.
Mm-hmm.
It's ultra 70s production design. And I think that drink is for him. We don't see him drink it, but I think he drinks.
Maybe you're right.
But
I noticed that at Hot Tracks, she's like, I'll have a margarita, and he's like, I'll have a 7-Up.
He's just not, he doesn't abuse anything.
Yeah.
The only time we really see him clicking with another person in a way that feels a little sexual is when he meets Dirk.
He's turned on for sure by Dirk's energy. But it's like,
well,
I mean, we made the Ben Solak joke, but it is really like a I thought of that like 5 days ago. I was like, I'm going to use the name Ben Solak on this pod to Bill.
I'm sure he's excited.
It's more like when a baseball scout goes to the Dominican and sees a 16-year-old and is like, right. That's my career.
It's $1 billion arm.
I identified that.
Well, a related question. Did Jack and Amber sleep in the same bed?
I think everybody's sleeping everywhere.
Well, you know Dirk's sleeping in his dojo.
Right.
But I get the impression Jack's got like a 5-bedroom crash pad.
How did it go for Cheryl Ann's next few boyfriends post Dirk?
It's a bad beat. It's a bad beat.
Do you think she like winds up with like Steve Sachs? That would be great. Guerrero. Cheryl Ann's just like, like watching Fernando pitch.
She's my boyfriend, Kirk Gibson.
That was the other twist in the script that we never see is that Cheryl Lynn buys Dirk's parents' house and she's living in that house when he goes back to visit them.
Yeah, that's too weird. I'm glad they didn't film that. Did Little Bill's wife deserve to die?
I like Nina Hartley's read on the character. I think she's right on, which is that she keeps doing this to challenge Little Bill to step up, to be a man, not to kill her, but to like take her back.
I don't think she deserves to die. I just want to float out there. What was up with Dirk's dad?
I think he's just like
what happened to that guy?
I mean, he's spending the most time with Joanna Gleason. I'm sure he's getting an earful every day.
It's a hard life. That one of the cooler shots in the movie is, when she's screaming at him and then he does a quick cutaway and the camera whips around to Dirk's dad sitting alone at 4:00 in the morning on the bed, fully clothed. He's not like in his pajamas.
Yeah.
Just sitting there quietly listening to them fight. That's haunting. That's some sad shit.
It's rough. He's a very distinct character. What do you think happened to Amber's documentary directing career? Think it was one and done with Fire and Fire?
I think she went on to make the Paradise Lost films.
She made the second Look Who's Talking. Did Todd Parker appear in porn films?
No. I think Todd was the drug guy.
He was a dancer? He said he was a dancer. Was he dancing for women or men?
So Rahad, when he sees Rahad, he says, "You know me from the club."
Yeah.
Rahad is gay.
So presumably he was a gay
he's
dancer.
Dancing in a day strip, or just at a Chippendales, and I think men would go to Chippendales, right? Or is that only women? I actually don't know.
I don't know either. I just always read Todd as like he's basically the dealer. And he's the one who's running all over town, and they're like, "Here, take my $200 and please come back with me."
But he does dance, right? He says he dances
in the beginning.
at the beginning.
In 1980, he's dancing,
Yeah.
but by the time they get to 83, I think he's mostly
he's transitioned.
Yeah.
What year did Roller Girl finally take off her skates?
I mean, are we assuming Roller Girl has a long, happy life?
My question here was, did Roller Girl
She went
get her
back to
GED?
school. Yeah, I think she got her GED. Like about 1989.
She's still at
she's
Jack's
like,
house, right?
yeah,
Right.
like around 1989. She's like, might be time to take off my skates.
I mean, she
finally.
must have plantar fasciitis. You know, like she must have.
What
like,
did the skates smell like? Like she said, she never took them off. Like ever in the shower.
I don't know. I haven't thought about this. It's a good question.
I have three more unanswerable questions, but do you guys have any before I do these last ones?
Did Dirk regain his porn fame on video?
Like a comeback. So he moves into the late 80s. Now it's like him and Peter North and a couple other guys.
Yes, he's in that era of porn. Is it working for him?
I think he probably, if we're modeling this after John Holmes, I think he's dead in like 1987 of AIDS. Would be my guess.
Okay.
Yeah, this movie doesn't have any mention of that.
We should have asked PTA that. When did Dirk Diggler die? Would have been a great last question.
Plenty of time for a sequel, Paul. I have another important question.
Yeah.
Did Buck Swope start Spotify with Daniel Ek?
4 channels, but it's the version of Spotify that only has
He's
country
the silent
music.
partner. That's going to be in the Netflix.
He loves audio fidelity.
Okay. If Rahad if Rahad shot, it's really, we're in hour 4. If he shot one of Dirk or Reed, who would you have wanted to save if you had the ability? PTA is like, one of these guys needs
We got
to
to
die in
save
this
Reed.
scene.
Reed has too much to offer society.
I agree.
Yeah.
So easy. Reed was going to entertain the masses with his magic for decades.
Reed is a literature, music, magic.
Margarita maker.
Yeah.
What happens to his poetry?
Personal fitness.
When I did the top 20 characters with House, I had Reed number 2 over Dirk. And House was outraged. And that was the question I asked him. Who would you have saved? And he was like, I would have saved Reed. I was like, that's why he's higher than Dirk on the character scale.
You're right.
You should start asking this for every movie. It's just like at the shootout at Rahad's house. Who
is that new character? One bullet.
Yeah. But if it could be for like broadcast news.
One bullet. That's funny.
Holly Hunter, William Hurt, and Albert Brooks are at the shootout at Rahad's. Who do you save?
One Oscar followed by one bullet is pretty good.
Yeah.
Andy or Red? One bullet. If you guys want to hear, I planned out what the rest of the songs were on Awesome Mixtape number 6.
Okay.
You should post this as a playlist. Sister
Christian, Jesse's Girl, 99 Love Balloons. So we have those. So we know we're rooted in like that 1983, early 84 range. I think Do You Really Want to Hurt Me by Culture Club is 100% on there.
For sure.
Always Something There to Remind Me by Naked Eyes, a little peppy. Hungry Like the Wolf, Duran Duran has to be on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think he works in Little Red Corvette by Prince. Stand Back by Stevie Nicks, who Rahad probably did coke with in 1981 somewhere. Separate Ways by Journey.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely.
Would you go with that or Wheel in the Sky?
I would go Separate Ways.
Yeah, okay. She's a Beauty by The Tubes. Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart.
Yeah.
No brainer. Just recently used in Nope by Jordan Peele.
And then I think the last song on the mixtape on side B is Jump by Van Halen.
Oh, that's dynamite.
And that's what I have. I spent an hour and a half thinking about this. Probably a little too long. I went through all the
like,
best
Dad,
songs.
What are you doing? You want to have a couch?
So it's like, Dad, can you help me with math? I'm like, hold on. I'm going through the top 300
I'm
songs of 1982.
What Rahad and Cosmo would listen to next.
Dad, what are you doing? Nothing.
Did you said Safety Dance?
Oh, Safety Dance. I'm going to add that one.
I feel like Safety Dance would be a really
How many
good
songs
one.
are on Awesome Mixtape number 6?
See, I think they have more of a power rock vibe going there rather than, I mean, I know 99 Red Balloons is on there, but you guys are veering more new wave than I imagine Rahad being.
So Safety Dance, no?
This is 83?
It's like 83, 84 range.
So Slippery When Wet's not out yet.
I got one.
Oh, what?
Give Me All Your Lovin' by ZZ Top.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's on there.
Rahad loves
I'm
Exterminator.
gonna add that.
The other thing is that Jerking Back and Forth by Devo is the other song in the deleted scene with Becky. That's the second. That's when Dirk puts the A track in.
Ooh.
And it switches. One, I think that's really funny because it's like, does Dirk listen to Devo? But two, that you could see Rahad being into Devo.
Sure. Some guy at the club's like, you got to check this out.
I mean, Whip It, like, come on.
My last unanswerable question: where the fuck was Ringo? Like, where was he? They searched for him the whole movie. Was he dead? Was he hiding?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Never found out. What's your double feature choice?
I had a bunch, as you might imagine.
I narrowed it down to 2.
Well, if you want to get really cute about it, wouldn't it be fun to see the opening of Misty Beethoven in a double feature with Boogie Nights? Like a real true 70s
going
porno?
actual porn going into Boogie Nights?
Is that
That's
a
great
Damiano?
idea.
What's that?
Is that a Damiano classic?
I don't know who did he direct that one? I don't know who directed that one.
Sure.
That's widely considered one of the best quote unquote like art porno films, like narrative porno films.
Or Jade Pussycat.
And that was the PTA one that he loved. Goodfellas and Raging Bull obviously are like the two major ones for him. Nashville he talked a lot about. And then I think also Wonderland, that crime movie that was made in the 90s with Val Kilmer, which is not like a good movie per se.
Yeah, it's not very good.
I was gonna say Hardcore.
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
That's great.
Yeah. Kind of the other side of all this.
Hardcore is a good
That's
one.
a great call. But I mean, two major bummer movies
Yeah.
at the end.
That is one of my favorite scenes in any movie
Him
ever.
watching in the theater?
When it's just cutting to Jersey Scott, like, oh, oh, oh.
But that movie, people say like Boogie Nights is actually not that sexy. Hardcore is not sexy at all.
No.
That movie's grim.
Very.
There's a grim, like 78 to 81 sex world crossed into.
Yeah, Star 80.
Yeah.
There's some really dark movies.
My double feature choices were
American Gigolo, kind of.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Well, Schrader is usually at the center of these movies.
I had either Nashville or I thought it would be interesting to watch Hard 8 and then watch this movie as a double feature.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or this into
to see how he grew.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that one? I don't know if we've ever talked about that.
I think it's a fun first movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists. I think it's such a dramatic step up to the second movie, though.
Yeah, I agree.
The Indian Red Zawatneo Award for What Happened the Next Day. You answered this, Sean. What happened to Dirk the rest of the 80s?
Buck developed streaming audio technology. And
Buck works for Spotify. Amber Waves, her whole nasal cavity must have just caved in. Roller Girl became a mom of 3 kids. Okay, what piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie?
I mean,
the prosthetic penis.
I mean, right? Would you specifically, Chris, what would you use the most in your life?
I would like the pre-accident Corvette.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
But it's always easy to pick the car.
What about just getting the dojo ported into your apartment?
I also like the first outfits that that Dirk, Scotty, and Reed get together.
Shirts?
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
it's like we do look like we're in a band.
I have the house number 1.
Oh yeah,
the paintings. I love Jack's blue road van that they take.
Sure.
That van is just fantastic.
Can you imagine
I would
what
buy
van
that right
smells
now.
like? Yeah.
Oh my God. The Spanish Pantalones poster is unbelievable.
that's good.
And I was like freeze framing. There's a bunch of posters that they made for this movie that they probably just threw out that they should have saved. There's when he's walking through the videotape archive, you can see him on the sides. And then there's that one behind Jack when he's meeting with Floyd when it's like something Amanda, but it's an Amber Waves movie, but it's like Amanda something.
They mentioned it earlier in the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's like
Amanda's
Inside
Ride,
Amber
that's
and
what it
Amanda's
was.
Ride.
Yeah.
But I think the posters would have been cool. The Little Bill painting is kind of grim, but would be pretty neat to throw like in the basement.
Yeah.
I had Dirk's Corvette. And then awesome mixtape number 6 would be hilarious to have.
That's great.
That's
Like, what's that? But I think it's the house or the van for me. Coach Finstock Award, best life lesson. Everyone's blessed with one special thing, Sean. That's what I took away from this movie. How about you guys?
Don't do cocaine.
No way drugs.
Yeah, cocaine is rough. Stay away from cocaine. And then who won the movie? PTA?
Yeah, PTA.
Yeah, without question. I mean, I think that everybody who is associated with this got a boost.
It's hard to imagine taking anybody out of this movie and being like, oh, it's the same movie or it's better. But PTA wins the movie.
Well, he earned himself a 2-part Rewatchables. That was almost 4 hours.
I think we won the movie.
I called him PTI 3 times. I almost couldn't speak at one point there during the last
Sean
hour.
said Spotify, our parent company, is built on a house of pornography.
I'm an actor. I'm not a pornographer. Stop saying that.